us. If you do not know, we've got coffee and breakfast over by the printers, courtesy of Stacy and Luann with Venture Title. So let's thank them. They're amazing. They're so involved in the board and they're so supportive of our office. So we really, really, really appreciate these ladies. Hey, Matt. And then, of course, you are here for Miss Mallina Wilson. She has been with Ben Kinney for 13 years. She has built a big team and a big business alongside of that powerhouse as well. And she's going to teach you how to create a lead now. Who needs a lead now?
Yes.
Everyone needs to raise their hand or else you wouldn't be here, right? So take lots of notes. If you need a pen, we've got pens for you, and get ready to learn. Okay, awesome. Put your phones on silent. Oh, you mean it?
Have fun.
Thanks, ladies.
Yeah. Enjoy the process.
Yeah. Good morning. There's a seat right up here, huh? Okay, you guys, let's get this party started. Okay. So a little bit about me, so that you guys know who you're talking to, right? And who's talking to you. And truly, you're going to learn about me and my business practices, and mainly those that I failed through that got me to the ones that are successful today. So you're going to hear a lot of the fail forwards. But I also want to know about you. So we're going to take a minute to learn about you in this room. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about me so you guys can kind of understand how I got into some of these practices. So I started in real estate in 2005. Who was in the business in 2005? Awesome. Okay. And at that time, all the realtors that were already at their desk and comfortable, the phone would ring, you pick it up, and you were writing a contract, right? It was just that easy when I got into the business. And then the market shifted, right? So 2007, 2008, and the phone was no longer ringing for those realtors. But I had just started the habits of picking up the phone and finding leads during those first 2 years when it started to decline. So I had strengthened the muscles that a lot of us others hadn't utilized. And I found that in today's market too. A lot of us got used to just picking up the phone. It was fast, it was furious, it was multiple offers. If anything, we were getting better at negotiating and winning the deal than we were at nurturing our database and staying in business and looking for the next piece of business. So once again, I'm back in this cycle. Real estate is a cycle of going back to the basics and getting back into that groove to get the next lead now. So in 2005, though, as I was getting into that business, what I realized is I wanted the phone to ring for me. And so I did that with a lot of global real estate focus. As Gary Keller opened his first business, he would answer the phone. Keller Williams International, right before he even left his first market center, or he left the county or Texas, or got wide across the nation. And then of course, we're now wide across the world. So he started with that intentional piece, and I did that within my business. So I put a global twist to it. I put the carrot out there. I became the purple cow so that the phone would ring for me. So I'm going to tell you how I got into business with Ben Kinney. So I'm an agent in Bellingham, Washington, which is north of Seattle, by about 2 hours, and up against the Canadian border, which also allowed me a market for global, right? And but we were a population of probably about 70,000 at the time. So we're a little tiny Bayside town. We weren't very big at all, and not very well known. Most people when I teach for NAR, I teach for other businesses, because I'm a business coach as well as a realtor. If you say Bellingham, Washington, most people, hello, don't know Bellingham, but Ben kind of put it on the map with KW. So most people in the room have heard of Bellingham, Washington. But we're literally just this tiny little town. And I wanted to make the phone ring. So I became the purple cow within that market. And during that down market, the phone would ring and they'd say, hey, Mallina, I heard about you, and I hear that you do global real estate. My local realtor can't get my property sold. What can you do for me? Okay, so we're going to talk about ways to stand out and ways to be intentional, the same way that Gary Keller was in answering the phone when he first got into real estate with his own market center. This is Keller Williams International, right? So we're going to talk about some of those practices. So how I got into business with Ben is that I'm this single little agent trying to be the global gal, capturing the world in a small Bayside town on a Canadian border. And I would go into my listing, meet an agent, and they would have, I'm thinking of Ben's first agent. She walked into one of my listings one time with a client from Korea. And I'm like, how the heck did you end up with, I'm a global girl. How are you bringing me a client from Korea? And she said, Mallina, I'm partnered with Ben Kinney and we have web leads. And at the time, nobody even knew what a web lead was, let alone using a web page for your business, other than to say I'm the #1 agent in Bellingham, right? And Ben was busy doing what Ben does, and he was reaching out to the globe in the internet. I was showing a global market in my local backyard. And so he and I started talking and we ended up partnering up. And it was through that global piece and him standing out in the internet and me standing out in the global, right? The thing about Ben is he's always made his world big enough that I can grow within it. And so we stick around in that partnership and do great things. He's off doing other things now. So, okay, so that is who you're talking to. I've been in business for a little while. I want to tell you guys a story though. Actually, I don't. I want to find out who's in the room first. I'm going to tell you the story afterwards. So we're going to take a quick second. Is there anybody in the room that is not a Keller Williams agent, who's a visitor from another brokerage or somebody who's here because? Okay. Is there anybody outside of this market center? We all in this, oh, you guys have a strong market center. I love it. And a ping pong table and a full dartboard. Oh, it's awesome. Okay, so you'll know the acronyms. I know who I'm speaking to. Who in this room does something that's outside of your normal residential condo vacation home niche? So is anybody commercial, luxury, global? Anybody have a niche that's outside of wonderful day-to-day business? Okay, luxury, awesome. Okay, so what I want to do, who has been in the business 1 year or less? Awesome. Okay, what I want you guys to notice is there are people in the room that have been in business longer than that. And I'll tell you, I take classes all the time to enhance my skills, even though I've been in business since 2005. So I applaud those that are here as well past that point. So who's been in the business 5 years or more? Okay, 10 years or more. Okay. You win, we're in there, we're still doing this.
You win. What do you mean?
No, but what I want you guys to see is who's in the room who you might partner up as an accountability partner who's new in the business, and somebody that you might go to as a mentor to get basic foundational practices that worked as much in 2005 as they do in 2023. So awesome. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little story. So I'm a coach. I used to be a MAPS business coach, but I am a Kaizen coach, and I teach business and business leaders. So it's not just real estate, it's lenders, it's title, it's CPAs in Arizona, it's home builder in New Zealand, right? That our business practices and what we have at Keller Williams is the models to follow is so across the board worldwide practices that work. Awesome sauce that we have available to us. So I'm a coach and I was coaching somebody. I'm going to tell you her story. So in December of 2022, she got a call from her business partner, and her business partner, and she had stepped out of her business to the point where she was leading the business while she had other business practices and resources. So real estate was one of her legs of business. And so she ran that business with her business partner, and that business partner, who was boots on the ground day to day, called her in December, mid-December, and said, I have breast cancer. And she knew that she immediately had to step back in and help her business partner do the fight, right? Do the fight and do the fight strong, and to be able to help. 2 weeks later, the executive admin on that team let her know that she had a health issue. Her husband had lost her job, and she had to switch back to her old job to get the health benefits for the surgeries that she needed. And we actually provide health insurance for our admin and our realtors through place. So, but her health insurance plan had to be bigger than what we were offering her for the type of help. So she had to give notice, but because the business partner was leaving, was able to give us or give them 30 days. Okay. Which meant that that person had to take on all the admin, had to learn the new techie in a way, right? And set it up for success before their departure. About 3 weeks after that, the virtual assistant called, who used to be the client care coordinator for the team, but had moved back to Michigan to help a family member. That virtual assistant's husband found out that he had an inoperable brain tumor. And she had to hit pause for a while to help her husband survive. This is December of 2022. And what was going on at that point? The ceiling was falling. The world was ending, right? Everybody was going, oh my gosh, what's going to happen in real estate? So we're coming out of COVID. It's not even a pandemic. Now we're going into a recession. The media is saying, the world's going to end. And everybody in real estate is like, there's not. Cut your budget. I mean, Gary was saying, go back to your credit card statement and see where you can save your money. Everybody's like, we have to be cautious of where we're going into. You guys remember that? Okay. So she decided that she had to get back to the basics and had to run this business and had to figure out what to do. In 7.5 weeks, she penned $5.5 million for real estate in a market where the average price point is about $600,000. Okay. I got coached to tell that story in the way that I just told it because I have a hard time talking about that myself, but that was me. So who you're talking to today is somebody who is in with you, feet on the ground, running a real estate business, not only running it, but pretty much solo right now. My business partner said she's doing her last 2 chemo sessions and it's fighting the cancer. She has to have surgery and then radiation. I probably won't see her until 2024 in the capacity that she could take over again. My virtual's husband is, I can't remember the name of it, but they're fighting hard, but it's inoperable. And my EA is starting her surgeries. So, but what I want to tell you is the first thing that I had to do to coach myself was mindset. Okay. Anybody struggle with mindset every once in a while, especially in the first 6 months of the year, right? Which isn't until now. Right. So we can do what we do and we can do it well as long as we have the right mindset and we show up with the grind, the execution, and the hustle that I'm seeing on the back wall here. And that we can do business through a pandemic. We can do business through a shift in the market. We can do business anytime that we decide we want to do business. The way that I know to do business the best is back to the basic practices. And I'm going to show you some of the things that I did in 2005 when I got started. And there's levels of how I did that based on budget. And I'm going to show you what I'm doing today and what I did since January. So is that an okay class for you guys to attend today? Okay, awesome. So let's jump into this. Oops. Once again, I am not the techie girl. I don't know why that's turning blue. We're just going to go with it. Okay, so as you guys sign up for this, I know you want to leave now. Come on in, hon. And there's a seat right over here if you need it. Uh-huh. So what do you guys want to take away from this class? So before I tell you what I do, what are some of the things that you would love to walk away with today? And we'll make sure to hit those points.
Yeah, no, I'd love to hear, what has worked for you and what hasn't worked for you and why.
So give me in
Legion.
Strategies as well.
Worked. And didn't work. Which is what gets you to what works best, right? Try it on for size. Ben talks about the phone book that some of you may be too young for a phone book, but it's what we used to print with phone numbers in it. But he had a bag on the phone book that he paid way too much money for. So fail forward is how we're gonna do that. Okay, what else? Well, let me ask you it in a different way. What do you think is getting in your way today to succeeding at Legion? Lack of strategies, what else? Okay. Let's do time. Oh my gosh, my spelling, but you're getting it. Okay, or not spelling, but handwriting. Okay, what else?
Lack of follow-up.
I think a lot of times when I coach, people don't understand what follow-up is. A lot of times they'll define Legion and follow-up as the same when they're definitely different. Right? Agreed?
The systems that you put in place to do your follow-up or your lead gen strategies, systems are a big deal. I have mine in my head. How does that happen?
Okay. And I'm gonna show you a basic today, a raving fan list. That really, whether you have a CRM like Brevity, where you can assign tasks and have auto drips, or you have Salesforce, or you have Boomtown, or you have all these things. When I didn't have a budget. I have $40 in my bank account when I started in real estate. And so it was paper and pen and index cards, and then it was Excel spreadsheets once I learned how to do that. And truly, I have one that is kind of fun. You guys can have as a gift afterwards if you want to just take it and have fun with that. Who in the room is running a team? Who has? Okay. So, and who in the room is currently recruiting to grow a team? We're going to talk about that too. You guys, right now that it's prime pickings for realtors who aren't sure how to do business or are fear-based and where the business might be going. And there's a lot of talent out there right now, a lot of talent. That's within the industry, but go outside of the industry and there's a lot of talent that hasn't decided they want to work or they can't find jobs to work. But there's a lot of talent to be on top of right now to bring into the business, and especially at Keller Williams and the way that works out. Okay, systems. What else? Okay, let's name for me, because I don't work in Naples, Florida. So sunny and wonderful though. It was raining as I drove from Fort Lauderdale. I was gonna cry, but it's sunny today and I'm super excited to maybe hit the pool later. But tell me what's in the way. Like I was looking at traffic, buzzing through. I thought I gave myself way too much time to get here this morning, but I hear that you're in the off season for tourism, et cetera, your snowbirds. So tell me some of the things that are in your way right now for the market. What's getting in the way?
Inventory.
Lack of inventory. Okay. What else?
Unrealistic expectations of listing prices.
Who goes to scripts practice every morning? Okay, so another thought is getting an accountability partner to go over scripts, right? We are teaching them, we are learning them, we are absolutely handling every objection together before we start our day. So scripts practice is something we'll go into a little bit. The lack of inventory and unrealistic. Is your time on market shifting?
Yeah, we're 53 days now average.
Yeah. For me, my sellers, it's not just price, it's how long it's gonna take to sell the property. So it's a whole new set of scripts that we need to be masterful in and helping them build confidence in us being their trusted advisor to help with their real estate wealth, right? And especially in a economy and a media that's telling us that the whole world is shifting, right? So no matter where they're sitting in their world, it's their biggest investment for the most part, right? Okay, what else? What else is getting in the way in today's market?
Interest rates.
So that's the other thing, is getting to scripts where you can do a buyer consult and allow a buyer to understand that you can buy down rates in ways that you will negotiate that other realtors won't as you get them into buyer agency. Do you guys use buyer agency here? Do you have a buyer agency contract like you would a listing agreement? Do you go into contract with your buyers?
Buyer broker, you mean?
It may be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's
Not.
We should do it.
I
as
don't know.
brokerage doesn't allow single agency, only transaction.
Okay,
Buyer agency, but there's a transaction agent, not as a single agent.
okay, okay. It's done differently. Every state is practiced differently. Every country is too, but perfect. So the scripts that you have though, whether you're going into a contract is also, you know, what you're saying in the car as you're driving them around, letting them know that you're the only agent they should be working with because of your skill set. Right, knowing the market, knowing how to negotiate, etc. So all of that is scripts practice. So systems, some of it is just what are you doing every day, right? Are you showing up early to partner with somebody? I'll tell you what I like, even though things are done differently in different states. I love finding top agents around the nation that will spend time with me learning new scripts because they have tactics that I haven't heard in my little group back home. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, right? Which is what you guys are getting by taking a class outside of your normal. Awesome, okay. How many in the room are talking to their database daily? 3, 4? You guys are actually a higher average than most. When I do the Zoom calls and I'll have 200 people on the call, the majority of the people are not. And this is where we let go of those muscles, right? We just got used to picking up the phone and negotiating at a higher level and multiple offer situations, etc. But talking to your database is lead gen, right? What does Gary talk about? Lead gen, lead gen, lead gen. One of the things that Gary talks about is doubling your efforts, right? If we are missing business right now, if we don't have the type of business that we want, then we need to double down. What I want to tell you is I want you to double down maybe, but double smart. Doesn't make good sense. What I mean by that, I'm going to tell you another story. Gary Keller interviewed me once on stage for the one thing practices that I had put into place. I decided to do this. How many people have read the One Thing book? Okay, anybody in the room has not read the One Thing book? It's an easy read. It's a great read. It will be a repeat to what you know, but it also is going to get you inspired to do some of the things that you need to do to stay into the basics so you can have a big business. So in the One Thing book, it talks about a 66-day challenge that Gary and Jay decided it's not a 28-day to build a habit. It's a 66-day challenge to get into a habit that will stick. And they talk about that in the book. So I did that. I decided to do that. Here's another story. So this is when I was in business and I was building out a team. I had 2 agents leave. I had, okay, back up. Ben Kinney Mallina Wilson, and then I built a team within his team, right? It's a whole nother class. If ever you're interested, I'll come back and teach that. So it's really the same model that you see in the MREA, only below another rainmaker, right? And it's an awesome way as you start to build teams, as your businesses get bigger, and we're talking about the talent that's available. If you ever want to learn to that, stay in touch with me, etc. But built a team within the team. So I had two, what you would know as buyer's agents, but they're my showing specialists, right? And an EA, my client care coordinator, who is now my virtual with her husband. So she was my client care coordinator. Is how I built out that team in the EA. But at the time that I was building out the team, I had myself, an assistant, and two showing specialists. I got a call at 8:30 in the morning. The showing specialist had been on actually a text. She didn't bother to call. She'd gone on vacation. She met a boy. She wasn't coming home. She was like, oh, looks like I'm picking up those appointments today. And this is why we do career visioning to learn how to hire, right? That's a fail forward, is building a team and how to do that correctly. And then the other one, thought she had mastered the job so well that when the other gal went, she decided to go too. So then I was left with myself and this assistant. And I thought, I don't want to do that again. I want talent that won't leave, and how do I attract that talent? So I did what is in the One Thing book, and I did the 66-day challenge. And I went into lead gen, and that was the challenge that I would do 2 hours of lead gen every single day, no matter what, right? During that 66 days at different times on our door, and my assistant was, and I call her assistant then because she wasn't an EA, she was an assistant. I learned the difference between those two. But her job was to keep everybody from coming in the door, and that was physically in the door, and that was email. She took my cell phone, I used the landline. So I could have no distractions. I was on a computer, like Jay says, where there was nothing coming in at me. It was just lead gen. But what I realized is that while I was in lead gen, and this is where I say, don't double down and do more of the same, double down smart, do the right things while you're in it. So one, when you sit down at 9, you should know exactly who you're calling, right? So you're preparing to know who you're calling beforehand, and that's one of the tools that I'll give you. But the other thing is, this is where that lead gen and lead follow-up got mixed up. Like I get on the phone and somebody would want to see a property, and the next thing you know, I'm showing up the tour, right? Like, oh, this is lead gen. No, that's follow-up. Or somebody says, I'd really like to know what my house is worth, or there's this lot next to me, and I divert into lead follow-up. I didn't stay in lead gen. So that's one of the things that I learned during the challenge. The other thing that I learned, and bless his soul, Mr. Ben Kinney, but I had a lot of web leads and I was really good at converting. So when it was 3%, I was converting at about 5%. And when it dropped down to 1%, I was converting at 3%, because I can build rapport really fast. But I was getting all of their hard web leads, Mickey Mouse and Go, inappropriate email addresses, etc. Right? Like I was getting those because I knew I could convert it. I got pulled over for a ticket once, a speeding ticket showing property. And I didn't end up with a ticket. I ended up with a client. Right? So I convert at a high level. And so anyways, I'm in lead gen and I'm in these web leads, and I realize I'm talking to the wrong people. I'm spending all this time trying to convert somebody who really doesn't want to talk to me, because I have a task on them 10 times more frequently than the task on the person that says, check in with me in 30 days. Like I should be spending far more time talking to them about new things like interest rates and, hey, that neighborhood that you were interested in, I know you're 30 days out, but here's something to be said. So I was talking to the wrong people. And then what I realized even more is that I wasn't talking to the people who had already given business. I was trying to find business from people that I didn't know, instead of going back to my clients who had already entrusted me as their realtor of choice and having conversation with them. So anniversary cards, happy birthday, etc. I'll show you some of those things. I went off on a tangent. Okay. So, and actually we just touched on that, because 2 hours within that lead gen time. Oh, so that story, and the reason that Gary interviewed me is within the first 50 58 days, I have penned in 19 deals in doing lead gen 2 hours, and then learning through that process that I was talking to the wrong people and started talking to the right people, and I let follow-up be a follow-up time block in my calendar, not in my. So, I will tell you guys though, because the majority of the hands did not go up. If you want a lead now, the one thing that you need to do, the one thing Gary would tell you to do, and the one thing that I know in my life has made my business grow, is that you should time block 2 hours. Right? You can do more, that's what Gary's saying, but if you're not doing 2 right now, which was the standard through all markets, you should be time blocking and staying true to lead generation. Yeah. Wait, she asked you when we came in, who wants a lead now? And you guys all raised your hand. Okay, let me ask you this. How many of you are willing to lead gen 2 hours a day for that lead? Okay. Now I will tell you as I coach, my lead gen scenario may not be your lead gen scenario. And I have learned that we say you need to do a lot of things this way. I will tell you, if you aren't passionate about how you do it, you won't do it. So we're going to talk about what you like to do and finding the right thing to do so that you'll stay true to doing it, because you'll expand on that and you'll get the results right away. Deal? Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go into this raving fan. So like I said, when I started, I didn't have technology. I had pen and paper, and this is something that I do on my Zoom calls. If you guys want a copy of this list, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you. Just let me know if you put your email address on the sign-in sheet, or leave me your card, or talk to me afterwards, but I'll make sure that you get it. And we already talked about talking to people that gave you business. I just want to go back to that, you guys. Fail forward was me. Why was I out trying to convince somebody to work with me instead of talking to the people who had already worked with me and ask them for referrals to like-minded people who might need me now? They already know the level of service that, you know, we were in a win-win situation. They were excited, and yet I'm not asking them for business. And these are people I like talking to, right? These are people that I put in the car and I made friends with. These are people that are interesting and fun, and yet somehow I'm too busy to talk to them, right? If I could shift that one thing for you guys and just say, talk to everybody you know. And let me give you a script. It's now going around and I love it, but it may not be mine, but it came to me in the fact that Angela is a girlfriend of mine that I love and adore. Angela is one of my VIPs. She sends me every bit of business. She runs into somebody and she says, you need to talk to Mallina. Angela and I went over scripts. I said, Angela, let me ask you, how are you telling them about me? And let me see if I can help, and so that I can make contact in a way that you're comfortable with. And she says, well, I tell them I am this great realtor. I said, here's what I might have you say if you're open to it. She's like, yeah. Say, let them know if they start talking about real estate, just ask, do you guys have a realtor that you're going to use, right? I work by the golden rule. I'm not ever trying to take somebody else's business from them. If they have a great realtor, that's awesome. I'll be the backup. If their great realtor is retiring or they won the lottery and they're moving to Hawaii, I'm backup, but I'm not going to try to take another realtor's business, right? So if they have a great realtor, say great. If ever you need somebody, let me know. I have a great realtor too. If they don't have a realtor, say I have a great realtor, because obviously you're telling everybody about me. And would you like me to have her call you? They're going to say yes, or they're going to say no. If they say yes, do an intro in a text for me, right? Or I can give you cards, but really do an intro in a text and I'll reach out quickly. And that way they can program me in their phone and I'll say hello. If they say no, then say, if ever you need a realtor, I'd love to give you her name and you guys can reach out to her when you're ready, right? Because a lot of people say, I'm just not quite there. I'm not ready to start talking to realtors yet. Can I send you her name? And that way, when you are ready, you may want to interview her for the job. Angela's like, great. And I can't tell you how many times that has worked. The other thing is, when I started talking to Angela about real estate, she's a girlfriend of mine. So I call, there's one of my clients calling right now. What I call it was awkward. Is it awkward for you guys to call people you know, like family members, your hairdresser, your car mechanic and say, hey, right? Is that hard for you guys? It's not hard for you. That's awesome. It was hard for me in the beginning. It almost felt easier. It made me feel like I was doing something when I was calling strangers, because if they rejected me or it wasn't awkward, that was easier. I don't know about you guys, but it took practice. And I was coached by the Buffini crew, and my coach at Buffini, when I first got into business and could afford a coach, said, Mallina, do you give out the best service possible? I'm like, yes. Would you want to help all your friends and family if they needed a realtor? Absolutely. Why? Because you treat them the best? Absolutely. But they're not going to know that you are there and available for them if you don't tell them, and if you don't remind them. You're not top of mind, right? So I had to get outside of that comfort zone. So my line with Angela, when I would call her, and I learned it with her, is, hey, Angela, it's Mallina. How you doing? Awesome. Hey, I've got my realtor hat on for a minute. Do you have a quick second? She's like, yeah, I got it. I'll tell you, nobody has ever said, no, I don't want to talk to you about real estate anymore. Like my friends, my family, people that have crossed, and clients become friends, right? So then you're talking about, you know, the Bellingham Bells game, or you're talking about real estate. Hey, I've got my realtor hat on. I want to let you guys know the interest rates have changed. And I know you were talking about maybe getting an equity line on your house. And so you can invest in the future or save up for the college, you know, education that's coming soon. Now is the time to tap into that value in your home, because we're expecting them to go up. And even on an equity, that's going to change. That kind of conversation where you're caring concern, but you're calling with your realtor hat on, your spirit wants to hear that. They want to know that you have their best interest at heart with the real estate. So just a couple little scripts. Okay, let me show you this raving fan list then. Very basic. Excel. This is not my great idea. It was actually a lender who was teaching a class who was talking about they didn't have a system within lending to really track their top raving fans. And so he had built this and I've tweaked it. We do an event. We do a lot of client events, and we do a VIP event. The VIP is a 40+ one. So this is 50, and it's actually more than that. And I'll explain it to you. But I learned to say thank you to those that refer, people like Angela. I have a client, her name is Joni, but she's never bought a house, sold a house with me ever. But she is a raving fan. She dates a lot of men. And whenever they're buying or selling real estate, I want her to stay single forever. But she somehow has given me more referrals. And if I go back, and you guys should always track where your business is coming from the original source, not the last source, but the original source. There are trends that you're going to watch over the years, right? So, yeah, you want to know who your raving fans are. And so every year we will throw an event, a VIP event. And the first time that we did it, my EA said, well, who are we inviting? Who are the VIPs? So Mark is one. He just called. He actually just bought an Airbnb in Cape Coral. We just helped him buy before the storm. Whew, they just barely nicked through, but he's an investment, sold one of his long-term rentals and bought an Airbnb in Cape Coral. So who's the VIP, she says. So I'm listing my people that are my favorite people. Like these are my VIPs, but I went and I looked who had actually given me the most referrals in the last 12 months. And it was different than my favorite people. So two things came from that. One, I wasn't paying attention to the people who were giving me the most, and I wasn't paying attention to how they were giving it to me. That's when I tapped into Facebook and how many people were sending me clients through Facebook posts where they were seeing it on Marketplace and different things. And they were always saying, you got to get a hold of Mallina. And I wasn't saying thank you loud enough. But the other thing is that my VIPs aren't necessarily my favorite people. They're people that are coming in through different sources. Okay, so you want to know who your raving fans are, but let's talk about this because it's kind of fun. So I marked a couple of them. And let me just tell you guys this, because we just touched on Cape Coral. Last week, we closed 3 deals, North Carolina, we're pending in Colorado. We have Florida in Orlando with one of our past clients, and Arizona, condo in Arizona. Condo in Arizona is an Airbnb. Florida was an Airbnb. What's the other one I just mentioned?
Colorado.
Colorado, there, that one's pending. Oh, North Carolina is, we sold her house here and she's moving to North Carolina with her mom. So long-term stay. One of the things that we did, because I inventory business, you should always inventory your business. If you don't inventory, like understanding who your VIPs are, understanding where your business is coming from, or where your rate of return is on what you're investing in for leads. And that investment in money is also equated into time, right? You should always be inventorying your business. If you're not inventorying your business at every level, and you should have a time block. I'm getting bossy now. I suggest, my experience is, I have a time block to see where my business is coming from. I like to see shifts. It's a different class, but we actually have a tracking. So we know, we have a tracking sheet that says how many calls to how many appointments, how many appointments to how many contracts, how many contracts to how many pendings, how many pendings, how many closed. And we track all of our time spent. And we also then track who those are, buyers, sellers, repeat, and we go back to the original source. The reason for that is because we see shifts before maybe the public sees the shift, the media sees the shift, or even our team sees the shift. We're usually the first ones noticing shifts. One of the things that Kelsey, who's my business partner, and I noticed in October is that our database was selling, but we weren't getting the second sale in the buy. They were moving out of state. They were leaving Washington. So through COVID and some of the movement, what used to be 2 transactions was now becoming 1. And since most of my business is Sphere, it's not Ben's web leads anymore, which is great. We're just so good at Sphere. That's where that inventory was saying, I'm like, why am I doing web leads when really my conversion is so much higher with these people who know me and locally. So but we noticed in October that we were losing, we were gonna be hit hard unless we filled the database at a high level. We had to replace the people that were going, and then we had to get more intentional in these referrals out of state. So even this week, on my Facebook page, we went and asked all of our clients that are doing out of state buys with the agents that we put them with, which is a referral fee. Because they love those agents so much, we're doing a social media launch for, if you're going out of state, Mallina knows the best realtors ever, Mallina and Kelsey. So we got their reviews for the connection to the realtor. And literally we're getting calls on it like, hey, we're thinking of buying an investment property, but we don't know what realtor to talk to in, Wisconsin, right? And we're replacing the database. So always do that. So the story behind this, yeah.
Sorry.
No, please.
So I have had really bad luck when I refer out. It doesn't matter if I speak to the agent and they are the nicest person and they have the production and they sound like they are people that work like I do. They have had a lot of bad luck with referring it. How do you vet those people that you're referring out to?
So if it's luxury, I'm going to my luxury people. If it's commercial, I'm going to my commercial people. I want to say within KW, because I love KW, but brokerages are like high school flicks. Like people are moving around right now like crazy. So we actually went through our database too. We're cleaning that up a little bit. So I want to go to the property type and then I want to go to KW, find that person. But I would say it's probably the interview process of just diving in deep to their numbers and what you're asking them to prove that they are. Because we all sound really good on the phone, but I want the numbers to back it, right? So it's a protection for your client. Anytime you do a referral, it is a reflection to it. So it's really important. And I set it up with my client that, hey, I'm going to connect you with this person. They're a top-notch realtor. But personalities don't always click. So if for any reason you're not feeling that this is the right person for you, and actually the gal in Colorado, Susie and Tim, we gave them an agent. And Ben has place, so we have that pool as well, which is across brokerages, and I'm a CIPS with NAR, so Certified International Property. So I have a global world too. So I have referral sources that I like to kind of weed within. But I set my client up that if this isn't a good fit, and that Susie and Tim got an agent that we referred, and it wasn't a good fit, she was too pushy to the price, to their, she's a D personality and their I, and it was over, and I'd given them permission to say, you know what, Mallina, we're just not sure, we're kind of laid back. It's Colorado, we're on a ranch, we've got 100 acres, and she wants to, she feels very city for us. And I say, great, we'll get you to the next gal. They're so in love with the next gal. So prep for the fact that they have permission to say this isn't.
And I've done that. I just have not had good luck, and I shoot a realtors kind of all over. I'm just having a hard time with that. I mean, apparently I'm not asking the right questions.
Well, maybe we'll script play it at a break. Do that. Yeah, let's do it. But it takes a little bit to learn it. And with global, you have to pre-vet them at a high level because their funds are coming in from out of country and different things. So I've got lists of questions to ask based on other realtors who were kind enough to share it. So I'd be glad to share. Okay, so parents and kids. So this is a VIP list, and you guys are gonna think this is kind of fun and funny. But I'm going to talk about my former husband was a great raving fan of mine, and he would get business. But I'll tell you, I had to teach him how. I had to teach him how to do that, and we had to do some script practice. And he realized all of a sudden that his ability to talk about real estate and having a wife in the market really benefited him in a big way as well. I can make a joke about that, but I'm not going to. I love this company for what we stand for. So, right, morals and values. I'm gonna be nice. But he did a really good job eventually in doing those referrals. And my kids are now, one of them is here in Naples with me, but they got into real estate. They learned that before they both became realtors. They decided to be realtors. I don't know why, but they're awesome. And they both spent some time in the market. But the one on here that I marked is my parents' kids' family. My dad called me one day. He said, Mallina, I'm so excited. Mallina, guess what? You've got to buy some property in Texas. I'm like, Dad, what's going on? And he said, I just bought a house. It's awesome. He said, I've got property management. I've got this realtor down there. He's great. You've got to talk to him. I said, Dad, and at that point, my kids were in college. I said, that's college tuition for your granddaughter. He says, what do you mean? You're in Washington. Like, you're just licensed in Washington, right? I hadn't told the people that I love the most that I could connect them with realtors in different places. And my dad had never invested out of state, and I had never had the conversation. But once again, inventorying the business, that's when we did a big launch to let our whole database know that we could help them locally, nationally, and globally, right? In this town, in this county, in the next county over the whole state of Washington. And when I do my buyer agency agreements, I also let those clients know. I don't know if you guys get this, but I get people who are shopping 3 states at a time. What I try to do is get myself in there in buyer agency, but I try to do the referral out to the other states as well and do a cooperation so that I know that even if they don't go with me, I've got them with the right people. And then we set up opportunities for investments in other states. So don't be surprised, like I was by your dad. The next one that's fun on here is the gossiper. Okay, who has somebody in their family, in their church group, in their book club? Who has a gossiper? Can you guys think of a gossiper? Okay, think about Facebook and everybody's commenting on everybody, or somebody's commenting on everybody's business. You guys know who I'm talking about, right? They should be your top VIP. You know why? Because they know everybody's business. They know who's going to buy, sell, have a baby, get divorced. They know before the person they're talking to knows. but they know. So they should be on your VIP, but you also have to train them to once again, introduce you in a way that's appropriate. Okay, so what else did I work on here? This is also, if you're building out a team, if you guys have new agents, this is just a fun tool. Ben and on our team and his place teams, your first day that you come in to sit down at a desk and work, if you've been hired on a team, you have to have submitted a database of 200 or more. So when you sit down, you actually know who you're calling. This is a VIP list of 10, and we're talking about some of our past clients here too. But I know that mine wasn't updated in the last few years. So we actually started when we realized in October, going back through and updating everybody's information. Some of our vendors had gotten out of business. My VIPs weren't my VIPs, you know, who had gone home to take care of mom in another state, which happened a lot. I actually found out I had a lot of people that still own their real estate. So address is still good, et cetera, but they're nurturing an elderly parent. So, okay, who else on here that I want to point out? So same thing, who's in the social media, who's addicted to TikTok, who's staying up till all hours? They know what's going on.
No.
You got called out. Okay. Realtors. Realtors are on your VIP list, you guys. If you don't do a lot of luxury, if you don't do global real estate, if you don't do leases, if you don't do commercial, who's your top realtor partner? You should be nurturing them and asking for business. We're going to touch on a business mixer. That's a whole nother class too, but it's one of the things that I've jumped back into. And I have Tracy in the room with me. She's another realtor. I'm hosting the business partner or the business mixer. But she has sent me so much real estate. She's my commercial gal. She does leases and I send her all my commercial referrals and she sends me all our residential referrals, right? Who are your realtors in your world? I have Seattle. It's a big market for secondary homes in Bellingham. I have top realtors down in Seattle that will send me clients that are looking for secondary homes, right? Who are your realtors? We sometimes just shut the door. If you say realtor, you're not anywhere near this, but truly you guys should be looking for the top agents that you can do referrals back and forth with. And then lending relations who cannot do what you do is also in there. So commercial lenders, hard money lenders, who's in your lending world that needs a favorite realtor that isn't necessarily just your standard favorite residential mortgage broker, right? Who does what where that you can really warm up to and do business with. Okay. So is this something that you guys would like me to share with you? Does this look like something fun that you would like to hold on to? And you can expand it. I mean, it has, who are your top 10, you're sorting. So obviously this list is more than 50, but you're going to go to who are your top favorite 10 new clients. Sometimes we forget that a VIP might be the person right in front of you too, that you have in the car that you haven't necessarily taken the time to put into your database. It's a business owner that's expanding into the area and they're going to bring in 10 new employees with them. And you may not have done those 10 employees, but man, they're my VIP. They're coming to my social gathering, wine and cheese at the Mount Baker Theater and a show. They're a +1 for sure. Okay. Okay, so let me go out of that and back into this. Okay, so what we're going to go over, and how are we on time? Because you guys did coffee. Well, I'm going to dive into this a little bit and then I'll give you guys a break. But still, if you need to get up and go, feel free to do so, because I just want to give it all to you. But these are some of the tactics that we're going to talk about getting into for the next lead. And it's all going to be through the basics. So some of this is going to feel like it's old school at a higher level. So it's the basic foundation. And then some of this is going to be new ideas that you've never seen before. Sound good? Okay. And before we dive into it, do you have any questions so far? You guys good? Okay. And feel free to interrupt me as we go and we'll expand on that. Okay. So we're going to go into time blocking for lead gen, social media. I actually had a client, mock calendar that I couldn't put my other Gmail account in this. But I coach to time blocking. So if ever you guys want that to stay in touch with me, stay in touch. My passion is doing this. Truly, this fills my heart. And the fact that we're in a room and we're not on Zoom. The energy, I'm just taking it all in. I coach on Zoom too, so I'm just so happy to see y'all. There could be hugs later if you want. Social media, who's using social media? Okay. How much of how much of your business is coming from social media? Okay, but we're spending a lot of time in there. Once again, inventory your business and make sure, and this is like Gary says with farming, you may try a new tactic and it may take you a while, but this is where you're gonna time block and you're gonna set a timer and you're gonna put forth an effort. And if you don't get the result, right? But it doesn't mean that you spend more time on what's not working. You either get better at what you're doing so it works better for you, but you're gonna track it or you're gonna get rid of it. We spent a lot of time, but farming, like we used to do for neighborhoods, it takes a while to get there, right? So you may be in a practice that it's going to take a while to get there. This is another reason I like going outside of my area. I want to know who's doing it well. So if you're trying something, you're probably not the only one doing it. Would you agree? Yeah. Somebody's doing it really well somewhere. So some of your time block may be either networking with them or watching their YouTube, like, I'm good with learning, learn from the best. Don't think that you've got the best idea in your mind solo. Okay. Strategies to increase your database, contribute to your community, vendor partnerships, open houses. Who's using open houses a lot right now to get new business? 2 of you. Okay. I have some coaching clients that are just rocking it with that right now. And a lot of it depends on your market. One of the things that you guys have here is weather that allows you a big turnout. For us, we're very weather restricted sometimes too, but you really could tap into that. Off-market inventory creation. Who has an off-market property list for their clients to dangle or new client angles? Anybody? Okay, awesome. Are you guys allowed to pre-sell your properties? Okay, we're not either, but some states will let you do a pre-sale, but there are ways to do that. Okay. Create classes. We'll talk about that. I want to know what you're really willing to do. So we had a couple hands not raised when I said, let's do 2 hours lead gen, even though you all want to lead now. Let me put a lead now. Who would like a paycheck in 30 days? Another check. Okay, who is willing to do lead gen for that paycheck? I won't go to the 2 hours to it. Oh, still some hands down. All right. Okay. You guys maybe teach me some magic on how to do it without doing the work to get to it. I don't know. We'll see. And then have accountability to your commitment to do it. Okay. Awesome. So that's what we're going to go over. Okay. So you guys actually brought up the stealing of time for distraction. Tell me what's the distraction?
Everything.
Tell me. Give me
Some of the things you mentioned you were blocking, like the calls, or even when you're on your computer, you know, it can take you down a rabbit hole if you are following up with, or, you know, starting a conversation, they ask a question, and all of a sudden you're going down some rabbit hole. Right.
Do you guys have clients that love to talk? So I'm always calling that client and saying, hey, Susan, I want to let you know I'm heading out the door to meet a client and I've got like 10 minutes before I have to get to her, but I wanted to touch base with you because you're a priority for me today. She doesn't know, or I can say I'm heading off to an appointment. The appointment may be a massage. The appointment may be making dinner for my family. The appointment may be the dog room, right? Doesn't matter what appointment. Yeah, I'll save that one. Okay. But Jay and Gary talk about that in the One Thing book again, too. Jay used to have the practice of having his computer, and he's still on his phone, I think. If you ever get an opportunity to take any of the classes that he teaches, they're just top notch. Who's planning on going to Mega Camp? Okay. So we're back in person. I'll be there. as long as there isn't a surgery that gets thrown in there, but the intention right now is to be there. But anytime you guys can watch some of his YouTube, and there's a one thing, if you read the book and you like it as much as I did, they have all sorts of resources online, including some videos that Jay did. But he talks about taking and shutting everything down on the computer or the phone, whatever you're working on, so that you can't get the notifications coming in to ding you. If you're writing an email and somebody walks into your office and you're mid-email to your client, here's the timelines for this transaction now that we've penned and you're doing, well, that should have a template anyways. But say you're writing this email, somebody walks in and says, hey, I have a quick question for you. One, you should have a sign on your door that says I'm in time block. But that, and when I was doing that with the 19 pendings, at one point I said, I had a sign that said, if you walk in, hand me a 50. Right? And then that didn't stop them sometimes. I actually got some money. But the assistant had a water bottle. And that was Ben Angeline. You walk in during my lead gen, she's squirting you. Like, she is my football tackle. Like, this is your job. This is what I'm paying you for. Don't let anybody in. So with the distractions though, social media, anything, a text, anything that's coming in, you can set it up. It's just, are you willing to set it up, right? Are you willing to use a landline if you guys even have them? They took all the phones out of ours. But you can do it in a way, and truly if it's the mindset, how badly do you want this, right? Ben says that he tells everybody, if you have a question, show up on my door at 5 o'clock. Show up my door at 5 o'clock. He goes home at 4:45. There's nobody there at 5. Usually by the time they come back around, they've problem solved it. A lot of times we are answering questions when we don't need to. If you can set it up on your phone that has an automated that says, I'm currently in an appointment, will be available in 30 minutes, we'll call you back then, right? Just like I'm driving, right? You can set yourself up for success. Really it is, are you willing to? Can you do that for yourself, for your family, for a life by design? How important is it for the distraction? Because you're the one who's paying the price, right? And your client actually is getting less of you when you're strung out on all these different things. If you can bring it back in, your energy is specific and to the point, and you're available, and you're a better agent, and you're a better person within your own life. Okay, another tangent I went on there. Okay, heck yes or heck no, that actually leads into that. They say in the One Thing book, for every yes, you have to say 1,000 no's, right? One of the things that I realized is when your role gets bigger, you get great opportunities presented to you, and you get more opportunities presented to you. When you're a great realtor, more people come to you and more people seek you out as a trusted advisor. Just because it isn't something that you would naturally say no to, when your world gets better, it actually allows you to pick and choose the opportunities, the clients that you want, the property type, the neighborhood. You get to design the life by choice. You get to design what client you want to work with. I don't take clients that I don't want to work with any longer, even in a down market, even in COVID. I know the time that they take from me. And I'll have conversation with a seller that's overpriced. I would rather have you be disappointed in the price that I give you today than to be disappointed in my services in 6 months, because we were not able to sell the property at that price. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to find another realtor if you'd like. If it doesn't sell at that price, you want to come back my way. But I would rather have you disappointed in the price and decide to use somebody else if you're not willing to understand these market stats than for me to try to do something that I don't believe I can do for you and part ways. That's hard when there's a scarcity or a lack or a fear But at the same time, if I spend the next 6 months trying to sell a property that's overpriced, I lose the client that I want to work with, who's going to refer me. I'm at risk of a bad review. I do far better with my business to say yes to the right people and to say, I'm going to let you choose somebody else. I had an agent who sent me she wanted to give me a referral and she wanted a higher referral for a higher level of service. And I wrote her an email yesterday and I said, you know, with our team, we have a commission split. And it would not be fair for me to ask my gals to do that amount of work with the amount of commission that you're asking. I hope you can understand our business model and I would love your referrals. I'd love to take great care of your friend, but it's just not fair to my friend. So if you need to find another realtor, feel free. I would rather have you disappointed in the fact that we can't service them than have my team disappointed in what I've asked you to do. Right? It's okay to say no.
People, sorry, we just had this conversation with the realtor in California yesterday. People respect that when you say that, they understand what you're saying, especially a realtor. And a woman from California who has a friend who's trying to sell the place here, and she said, we can do it for less than a commission, and it was considerably less, and I said, I'm sorry, this is why. And she said, I respect that. We'll give you a call the next day or so. I didn't want to take pictures, so they respect it.
I love it. And if they don't, that's okay. I mean, the biggest thing is that we're afraid that they'll have an opinion of us that's negative. But I have a bigger opinion of me than I need you to have an opinion. I have a bigger care for my team than I do for a stranger who's asked to do a bit of business. So stand true. But that's also another great scripts practice. If you guys are getting together and people are asking you to lower commission right now, we have Redfin. I don't know if you guys have Open Door, like whoever we're competing with, it's always shifting and changing. And we have to better show up to the conversation to show our value, right? So the client then understands it. It's not like we're trying to get the job. Here's why. Here's our value. If you'd like to do business with us, we'd love to do the best service for you. Right? And that confidence comes in the scripts. And I'm not an island unto myself. I'm surrounded by whippersnappers. I love learning from experts. I just pass on to you what I learned. So I want to learn more and more and more and all the new objection handlers. So, okay, so it's either a heck yes. Yes, I'd love to do that. And I put heck in there because we're in a KW office. If Ben was here, he would not have heck in there. It's either a heck yes or it's a heck no. So because care about yourself, care about your business, and truly your business will grow at a higher level if you do just that. Don't dilute yourself to such a degree that you're trying to do all things for everybody. Do the right business and get more referrals because of it. Okay. Checking in on home anniversaries, VIPs. So when you do lead gen, and this is part of the calendar that I can't show you, it's a whole nother class too, but when I go into a lead gen block, it's in my calendar. How many have lead gen in their calendar? Awesome. Okay. When you open that block, for me, I have who I'm going to call. Okay. So on the first Monday of every month, it's the anniversaries for that month since 2005. So it could have been on one of their properties that they've already sold, right? Because we're 4 transactions later in a buy, sell, right? But hey, you guys, your anniversary showed up. Remember that first house when we bought that tiny little 800 square foot and now you're at, and you're talking about your history with them. So it doesn't have to be the most recent sale. So anniversaries are really big. So in lead gen block on that first Monday of every month is the anniversaries. Doesn't have to be every day. And the reason for that is I take vacations and I take time off, right? And so I can call everybody in one day in a month and do their anniversaries. And then if I have a vacation, I can move that around, it doesn't get lost. Client parties. Who in the room does client parties? Okay. A newsletter that highlights a business. Okay, let me ask in a different way. What are the best tactics that you guys use to stay in touch and say thank you to the clients that you have or have had? Great, go ahead.
Handwritten notes.
Awesome. Love them.
They're part of my season two, I typically call all my past customers. DTV too, so that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Is anybody reaching out via Facebook or social media or Instagram on anniversaries? Are you doing anything that way? Like
Yeah.
reposting of? Okay,
Yeah, the memory comes up
yes.
and then I will just paste that and say, but don't forget, here we are again. And somebody will go, oh my God, I didn't even realize what the date was.
Yeah,
And I'm being more intentional too of responding to people on Facebook instead of just a like and actually commenting on posts or making sure I'm saying happy birthday to the 4-year-old or whatever it is, whether I haven't seen them in 20 years or whatnot, and getting more intentional on really posting something versus just liking it.
love it. I actually have a couple screens up here I'm going to show you. And I couldn't get to the other one. So I may show you one on here too, but we're gonna dive into that a little bit. Staying in touch with everybody that you know. With Buffini, I used to do pop buys. And this is when we had the old totem maps in the back of the car, and I had my clients per exit. So if I was off at a doctor's appointment over here, I knew it was the craziest thing. But it worked so well, and I would have little pop buys and little sayings and seed packets for planting this, and don't let the market be too sticky with tape for the holidays or whatever it was. Like there's different ways that you can stay in touch depending on your time. And also whether door knocking is different than it used to be for folks. So, and once again, as I may mention, if I tell you guys to do what I did, you're gonna say, what I want you to do is identify what you will do and do it well, and then it will lead to other sources. But the time commitment for time blocking is just that. So time blocking could be your lead gen for vendors. So I do a business mixer, and one of my lead gens is to thank all of my contractors that I invite to my business mixer. The reason I asked about client events, well, I just want to say this for future. So I have a coach, and he told me the other day, this is such a good thing, but if you guys do a client event or you have an opportunity to think about, like if you have a book club or a church gathering, or you went to a barbecue, right? That call after the event is more important than the call to invite them to the event. It's more important than being at the event. It's noticing them if they weren't at the event or after the event. Right. So for me, for a client party, I've invited my whole database to the party. I'm at the party, I'm mingling with them, I'm giving them opportunities to build rapport and also talk real estate, answer any questions. But after the event, it's calling everybody that wasn't there and saying, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I noticed you weren't there this year. I hope to see you at the next one. Is there anything I can do to make your role bigger? It doesn't have to be anything about real estate, but that call is so big, right? So as you go into events, whether it's a client event or otherwise, do the follow-up after the event. So if you were talking to somebody at the barbecue and they're curious about what their house is worth, that follow-up call that next day, 3 weeks from now, right? But it's the follow-up that is key for rapport. Okay, and I have notes for the wow factor. So we do gifts and we have a wow factor. A whole nother class on how to do that within a budget and tax wise. But the wow factor is so key because it's relationship. It's I see you, I hear you, I notice you. In today's world, and especially coming out of COVID, have you guys noticed people just want interaction? I just told you I love you in class. Yes. But there's a space in which we want to build rapport, but it's changed. Like we're not door knocking neighborhoods, right? But we want a space in which we can be heard and seen and be in relationship. The wow part is not just saying, hey, I noticed you, but I noticed you when you said this. Right? When you're tapping in. People want to have a conversation with somebody who's listening to them. Not the person who cut you off mid-sentence to tell you, yeah, when I did this, or, oh yeah, I did that too, or let me tell you about me, right? Everybody wants a conversation where you feel heard. You can do that in the wow part of noticing what somebody says. So that can be in a note card, that can be on social media. Hey, I saw that you had a puppy, so I'm sending you with a gift card to our local Mud Bay, or I don't know what, PetSmart or whatever. For me, I like smaller businesses to go into rapport with, so I actually do the local, but and you send them something. Hey, I noticed on social media that you got a new puppy. Here's a little gift. Or you swing by because you do know them well enough with some type of little puppy gift, right? That speaks such volumes. And when they see you, most people may ask you about real estate just because you showed up and everybody's curious and you didn't have to have any conversation. You just went and got a gift card and said, I noticed you. I noticed you. I noticed the puppy. Okay. And I'll show you some of that. And then, like I said, the vendor partners for business, we'll dive into that a little bit too. Okay. So how many of you sort clients on Facebook? Do you guys want me to show you what that means? Yeah. Okay. So Facebook is kind of the older bracket in the room, right? Instagram and TikTok are the newer. So I'm going to show you a way though on Facebook, and there are ways to do other practices with Instagram, TikTok, Reels, etc. But I'm going to show you just a couple things because this is how you can notice quickly if you have Facebook. So right now, homepage, head over to friends. Here are some friend requests. When you do a friend request, whether you're sending it out or you're accepting one, when you get that person into your world, oops, you can actually edit, and I'll show you in a minute. But as you edit the friend, you can create lists. Has anybody seen the custom list before? Okay. So I'm a global realtor and I'm a coach. So you're going to see some of my lists. I'm also a runner. There's that Ragnar race we were talking about. Those are fellow runners. I ran a race in the White Cliffs of Dover. But these are my realtors. So if I have a referral in one of these countries, I can quickly pull up my realtors in those countries. So you may have CCIM as my commercial, ARIA. Actually, that's my local chapter. So ARIA is the Asian Real Estate Association of the Americas, is the one I'm thinking of. So networking, I have networking groups. I have my business mixer networking group. So anyways, I can, and you can sort into different categories. When I head down here, I always do everyone because you can actually, I don't do it, I'm not a spammer, but you can actually send a message out where everybody gets tagged. You guys are probably seeing this trend, but you can put everybody in there. I don't know if I'll ever use it for anything, but just tag everybody, everyone. The other one, out of state realtors, but here are my clients. Okay, so part of our closing and during our transaction, our EA, we will do an invitation to Facebook. A lot of different reasons why. We also have people come in when they get their keys at the office, unless they have a place of business that it would be advantageous for me to deliver the keys at the business with the gift, because then everybody's like, who's that? Oh, that's my realtor, right? Like there's an opportunity if there's a business, but otherwise I have them come into the office and we take a picture with the keys, the gift, and a sign and KW behind it. And we let them know when they come to get the keys, we're going to take a picture of you guys because they've been moving all day, right? They're packing, they're like, what photo? We've learned, fail forward. Most people don't want their picture taken when they're hauling boxes all day. But we let them know that the keys are going to be at the office by 5 o'clock that day. We'll set the time that morning based on when the title company calls us. And by the way, we're going to snap a photo so that you can share it with your friends. Okay. They come in prim and proper and they're ready to go and they've got the gift, they've got the keys, they're so excited. That then shows up in memories, but we also sort them into Facebook, because they know we're gonna send them that picture via Facebook. So all of it is setting the expectations, but then it becomes part of my marketing, my free marketing. I like free. Do you guys like free? Okay, it's free other than taking the time and making sure that I stay disciplined to doing it. So,
Are these people and these lists in your personal Facebook page or your business page?
yes, and so.
Personal.
This is my business page, Step Into Properties. A lot of what we do is we'll take real estate and we'll put it into personal from this page, so you can see the professional, but with me, I am who I am with everybody. And I like them to see me as a real human being instead of just a business page. So I invite them to the personal. And then I also invite them to this. So they'll see all of this posted in a professional way, but then we invite them and the memories won't come through this. It comes through the personal.
So you do both.
Yeah, and not everybody signs up for this. And it goes global, but I'll show you a couple of reasons why we do this one as well. Okay, so lead gen, for those of you who like social media and don't want to pick up the phone, right? I have a coaching client right now that's, her whole thing is video. She just sends people video and she's rocking it with some video. Happy birthday. I saw you have a puppy coming, and she just, it's just self-help. And we've got 2 girls in sports. She's constantly sitting in a sports event and she just on a phone does video. Hey, I was thinking about you. What's going on in your world? Right? Business owner. Hey, I see business is picking up, slowing down. How can, maybe we should partner on something at some point. See if I can get you some new business. She is just sending video after video after video, super simple on her cell, and she's rocking it, just rocking it. She's my client that when I started coaching her, she had closed 1 real estate, residential, she'd come from commercial. And then her next year, she closed 55. Wow. She listens well. She does the deal and is she willing to go to any length? Yes. But we also designed it so that she wanted to do it in a way that she would do it. And that it was convenient.
Can I ask you a quick question? So do you send in video through Messenger or
Text,
text?
just text, because you have your camera button to facilitate, you're just doing a video.
Oh, okay,
You're
gotcha.
just doing a video on there and you're just saying, hey, happy birthday. You popped up in my calendar.
Okay.
Running out of the house with the kids to school, but I wanted to quickly say on the run, happy birthday. You are still so young, right? So she's just rocking it with that. Yeah.
So
And-
is the goal with that, you know, the touch points in your lead gen block to get a response back to then start kind of talking about real estate, or is it just hey, a touch point, I'm thinking about you, like a relationship building thing?
Relationship for me always comes first, but who you're talking to will be the relationship kind of. It could be an entry point. So it could be, I know we talked or wanted to get a hold of you. It was nice chatting with you. When you inquired about the house on 123 Main Street, wanted to put a face with the conversation. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm looking forward to working with you in the future. So it could be a total entry, or it could be, hey, I'm on the fly, I'm doing this, right? But video for her just seemed more natural. For some people, the thought of video just terrifies them. Like there's no way they're doing that. And once again, if I tell you to do it my way, you're not going to do it. What I want you to do is find a way that you will do it and then do it well and then expand. Okay. So with this one, you just quickly go in and you see what everybody's up to. And you can follow up with a note card. You can do a pop by. You can do a message, have conversation. Don't just like things. And then the other piece to this is the memories that was brought up. Oh, no. So the memory was on here. Let me just. So there wasn't one on today and they go away by the next day. So once again, your lead gen may be broken out in your 2 hours of a 15 minutes at a timer where you're going in and you're looking at the memories, or you're looking at the birthdays on Facebook, or you're looking at the clients, right? You're going to design how you're gonna be of highest contact within your world, within that lead gen, right? You'll have some staples like the anniversaries or et cetera, the vendors, or an invite to a client party. For me, we do client parties once a quarter. It's my marketing plan. So my calendar shows when I'm gonna call through, and so that lead gen block. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a memory that came up yesterday, and it's just a post that we did. We sold a house in Belize for some clients of ours who had a secondary home. So all of a sudden, and that was June 7th of 2022. Okay, so I can repost that along with our campaign that's saying, hey, we get you the best realtor. And right now it's all within the nation that we're doing those reviews. But I can also post, don't forget that we go global. We did one last year in Belize. So sometimes it's the picture of the client holding the sign in the gift box, and then they post it, they repost it, and we also send them the photos to the house. So they're usually posting that. But a lot of times they're like, oh, their whole database is in there commenting on congrats, you bought your house, or congrats, you sold your house. And what you're doing is you're going in and you're commenting, congrats, it was such a joy to help you get to this next new chapter. You will get leads from that, because they now all of a sudden you're not the sign on the bus bench or the shopping cart. You actually belong to a friend, right? And you're a trusted advisor through what just happened in the world. So any questions about that? The other thing that I'm going to show you guys just before we jump away from Facebook. Well, I don't know why it says call now. We need to replay that. Okay. I'll come back to that in a minute if we have time, because it's in a later slide. What do you guys think about a quick break? Does it, anybody? Okay, let's break really quick right here. Let's do 5 minutes. Let's come back at 10:35. So 8 minutes, if that works. Okay. Don't lose sight that some of your demographic that's buying is the older folks like me who are still on Facebook. What I love about Instagram is I can quickly shoot it from one into the other sources. We have been doing reels, and that's fun. My daughter was my tech person, and she's like, Mom, it's not a panoramic scan. Like, get to the point. So hire somebody if you need to, but that's another thing. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I like meeting with revenue, and I don't like spending money if I don't have to. My client parties are my marketing plan. I don't pay for them. My vendors do. We get sponsorship. That's why I call through. I'm in great relationships. But one of the things that I coach to, and this is why I want you guys to find your way, is when you find your way, you're also going to find a way to make sure that whatever action you do, and I coach to this so much, whatever you make a decision to commit your time to, whether it's in lead gen, whether it's in a learning time block, whether it's in a social media time block, whether it's in a neighborhood time block, an open house time block, whatever you're doing, you should measure it to every bit of your business plan and see if you can use that one activity to go out into all of your deemed top priorities. How many people in the room have a GPS?
I do.
Okay, and how many are using a 411? Okay, so it's awesome, and I coach to it, and it looks different when I'm talking with a small business leader, but yet it's the same. And taking a look at that 411, I actually am old school clipboard, but I have my GPS and my 411 on it, and I can check it, I can move it. And my GPS is in my calendar, and every strategy in my 411 is in my calendar. So that's a whole nother class, but I'm telling you, if you read the one thing, it will deem you more curious to the strategies behind that. So as you guys were looking at one goal, 3 priorities to reach the goal, and then 5 strategies per the priority to lead to that priority being successful. And then you take all of that and you put it into your calendar and a time block to it. But for me, because I'm very purposeful and I like my time, I want to go lay by the pool, hang out with my kid, live a big life, no matter what business looks like. And you guys heard about my business right now. So the only way you're getting a hell yes is if it align, or heck yes. It aligns. Sorry, it aligns with everything that I've deemed is what I want to do, or you're gonna get a no. No, I'm sorry right now, but my schedule isn't allowing for it. I'm sorry, but my business is really tight right now based on the fact that I'm leading it. And I'm back in the day-to-day activities, so let me recheck in with you in a quarter, right? I get asked to do a lot of wonderful things, but I say no to a majority of them, not a minority of them. Because I already know what it is that I want to do. Okay?
It's in Naples.
Yeah, thanks for
No,
being here.
yes, you guys don't even know. I will tell you, so this is an example too, though. I go back to Fort Lauderdale and I'm going to Croatia for 7 days
Fun.
on a vacation. I haven't taken a vacation during this time frame because I needed to be 100% where I have been and I needed to adjust my calendar. But now I need a recharge. And so, like I said, when I do an activity, I figure it out. So I booked you guys and then I booked my vacation after you guys. And I used that 1 miles, budget, time, all of it into one. So when you're looking at saying yes to something, see how it can cross over. So when I have my vendors and my business mixer and my client events, I have sponsorship, I don't pay for them. I call through, I call after, right? I add to my database. We set it up so that if you bring somebody with you, we're adding to the database. We get so many leads from our clients. So that's another class too. Okay, so let's talk about this database. Who knows how many people are in their database? How many?
I have 412.
Awesome, but you know your numbers, that's awesome.
I have about 10,000.
Okay. I know you're not talking to 10,000 once a month. So give me a number around, and that is the Keller Williams way, right? Like we're always adding into our touch. We're gonna stay in touch via a newsletter or whatever our plan is. But how many people are you talking to as far as your top clients per month?
Probably 40 or 50
Okay.
of that. Everyone's getting touches, everyone's getting newsletters. But it's a small amount that I'm actually talking with every.
And you said you had a team, so are your team talking to their sphere? Are they talking to their top 40 and 50 per month?
Yeah, and my other team members.
Yeah.
Awesome, yeah, that's awesome. Lead by example is the rainmakers. You guys all sit down and touch base. Who else has a database that they know the number to?
I do have like 2,500, but I can't say like 650 to the active.
Okay. Somebody else raise their hand over here. Somebody else have a number?
I am about 250. And again, like Cam, I'm on, well, because I just came back over to KW, I just got back into command and I do have some smart plans going for everybody, but my talking to people are about 50 or so a month.
Okay.
And it should be more than that.
Who has auto dialers, like a phone burner or a Mojo or anybody using an auto dialer? And Kenny's team is so techy. They run through, and Brivity has one within its system that Ben's put in there. I use Mojo to be able to call through my database to invite them because you can leave the voicemail. So you ring through and you can drop the voicemail. So all the details to the party, instead of saying that over and over again, you just actually drop it. There's a text program within Phone Burner that I haven't used. I'm not your techie girl, but there are systems and ways for you to do it at a higher level. I'm not about calling through, well, it doesn't matter. I nurture my sphere and I can do that in a way that's still nurturing and personal within an automated dialer. But that recording, sometimes it's been an interest rate, sometimes it's been a, hey, you guys, we're 1 month into COVID, I just wanted to check on you, right? And so you leave the voicemail, so I'm not saying it that many times. That number allows me to go through right now I have about 650 people in, and I like to keep it at 500 on who I'm talking to for sure. So that means I have to actually eliminate people. It's like going through your shoe closet. If you're gonna buy 3 new pairs of shoes, you might want to get rid of a pair or 2 or 3, right? And I'm not getting rid of them. I want to add to my database, but I really want to be intentional on who I'm talking to. This is where I failed forward. I had this big list. I like to stay around 500. But it wasn't current. Like with COVID, we realized a lot of people either changed their email because they're working remotely from home. The phone numbers, people don't have new home phone numbers anymore. Like I had old school fax numbers, phone numbers. I realized that I didn't have a slick, clean machine, right? Like it wasn't. And so it was a great reason to pick up the phone and say, hey, you guys, just want to make sure I have all the right information. What can I do to make your world better? We have a call that we do in January. So once again, in that region, hey, you guys, we wanted to let you know that last year we helped so many people sell their homes, buy homes, make the real estate dream come true in their lives. And we're setting another goal this year to reach this amount. Do you have any real estate plans for the year that we should be aware of, or do you know anybody that we should be reaching out to? And then when we're doing the client party, we're also saying, hey, if you want to bring a friend, let me know and I'll give them a call and see if they have a preferred realtor. I don't want to step on the toes of their realtor as I'm inviting to the party. So if you let me know, I'll just make sure that they're set to come over. We're adding to the database as we do that.
The client parties, these are past clients and then prospects, like people who, you're either kind of working with or you're hoping to work with, and then everybody gets to bring a friend? Or does it depend?
So the friend I want to pre-vet. My clients really like our parties, and I'm actually really trying to figure out if I'm going to do this next one being sold. Like, do I need to say no this time? So we've got the dates and we're looking at that, but I think just hire some people to help me to do that. But I don't want to bring a ton of people that have realtors, and I'm really set on that. So you'll see my social media posts. We throw a party at a blueberry farm and we bring in a band and an ice cream truck and a taco truck, and they have a big store and everybody comes and picks blueberries. It crosses all the age generations, the kids, the single, young, millennial, everybody wants a mouthful and a bucket full of blueberries. The vendors end up paying for all of it. Just in their donations, and then we highlight them. Marketing plan once again, then we highlight them in newsletters, we'll put them on social. So we have different vendorship spaces that they can buy into. And so it ends up being this free thing other than the time and money that we put it together, but our clients love it. So when I'm saying to them, and you'll see it on social media, it'll say, if we're your realtor of choice, we would love to invite you to the blueberry event. It's our client appreciation time once again. Come on out. If you have somebody you want to invite, let us know and we'll check with them to make sure they don't have a realtor of choice. Right? We don't want to step on the toes of their realtor. Now it's funny, every time I do an event, I've got 2 other realtors in my office who are now trying to get the blueberry party or the blueberry farm at the same time. Get out of there. One I didn't watch close enough and she took my location for a pie giveaway at Thanksgiving, but it's all good. Ben says if they're coming in and trying to knock you down in the forest, the tree, it's a compliment if somebody wants to. I gotta let those days in quick, or someone can have a space.
One other thing, because we did do an event recently and it was super successful, but just to share with everybody, because I have a business coach and she said you need to have a hook, right? Not just about real estate. So one of my clients we just closed on is a local artist. So we featured a local artist, and that really captured a lot of people being like, oh, I want to be a local artist. And one of our next ones, we're not 100% sure yet, but we might feature an up and coming local chef that will go into people's homes and prepare meals. So having something else besides just us to offer, and we did have our vendors come, and next time we'll get them to pay. Because if we were like, oh, light bulb, we didn't do that. We did, yeah. They paid for some advertising. But But just another idea, to kind of think of something cool that your group, your clients would appreciate and have that there, so there's something else for them to come for.
Yeah, our band is a space band and they have a following in our neck of the woods. They're an 80s band. I love it. But they they have a following. So people want in on the band bit. So I absolutely 100% agree. And you do want those vendors to be in a space. This is a whole nother, some of these strategies. When you guys are talking to vendors, you should, as you're adding them to the database, you're meeting them, and we'll talk about that too, but you're letting them know that you can highlight them in a newsletter. You can, and you have them do it, so you're not taking the time. So I have them write an intro as if they're talking to my client, or send me a video talking to the client, because you can embed it. And they send their logo. So I'm not writing it. I want them, right? I'll edit it for a quick second, but they're doing the work, and then we put that into our newsletter and we'll highlight them. But when we do that, we're talking about, do you have a realtor of choice? And if you do, that's great, and you're awesome. And I will always send my clients to you back up, but I'm looking for a vendor who is going to send me business, just like I'll be sending them business. I'm the same with my lenders. If I'm sending you all my clients, I need to see you sending me clients. And I have 2 preferred lenders, and we sit once a month, we go over scripts of what we're running into, and we go over how many referrals we've sent each other. And if I'm not getting referrals from you and we need to talk about this, there's no reason for me to send you all my business if you're not looking to support mine. Right. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so 3 to 5 people into your database. It can be through the event. Get back into the habit of talking at Panera Bread in line, or Starbucks, or wherever. Whenever somebody hears you're a realtor, what's their first question? How's the market? They want to talk to you. You guys want to talk to you. Sometimes if you're coming out of lead gen and you need to wet your whistle, you don't want to talk anymore. So I give you permission. If you've done lead gen, you don't have to tell them. But otherwise, you should be telling. Face-to-face appointments with people. I like meeting with revenue. It's not necessarily a lunch right now, but I don't know if you guys are getting more expensive every which way, but I like a cup of coffee, or I have restaurants that I know are a lower bill, and I'm just really intentional, per Gary saying, be intentional with your money right now. So I'll do a coffee, a lunch, or a walk with us in our world. You guys are so hot. I don't know if you do a lot of walks, but we have trails and trails and trails, and every car has a dog in it. So we might meet at the dog park, right, where it's a sparkling water or whatever. So find a place to go face to face. Have a conversation with a vendor. Look for talent and add your talent to the database. I'm going to tell you guys something in this room, and you're all in the same market center. But Naples is big, right? So, and remember, there's never any competition. The universe is big enough. Kind of like these agents who are taking my blueberry farm. Darn it, right? Like trying to reserve that spot. But the universe is big. And when you lead with contribution, it always comes back tenfold. So I'm going to tell you something, even though you're all in the same market center. One of the biggest ways to add to your database right now is look who's stepping out. Who's retiring that's a realtor that has a huge database that may be getting out of business. Talk to them. Say, you know what? I'm in business. I'm going to be in business for a long time. There's a book called The Golden Handoff. And the gentleman who wrote it just called me. He's doing a second edition and asked me about that. So I got interviewed for that book, some of the practices that we do. But there are tons of realtors that aren't going to be in business. You guys, the days that the interest rate went up by 1%, anybody remember that day? It's like 9/11, and for all of us as realtors, we're never gonna forget that day. I went into the office on fire, excited, and all of the new agents are like, she's lost her mind. I'm like, this is awesome. And they're like, you're out of your mind. I said, no, this is opportunity. This is when opportunity shows up. Other people are going home with Haagen-Dazs and they're getting under the covers and they're eating it. Their whole pint or half gallon, it's gone. You guys, this is when your buyers, they can't get a hold of their realtor. They're under the covers, right? And they're coming to you going, help, help. I gotta buy a house still, doesn't matter what the interest, I'm in a position where real estate moves, no matter what's going on in the world. Economy or pandemic. So, and this is when other realtors will decide to leave the business. And I get the opportunity to step in and say, you know what? Your sphere, those people, your friends and family that you were gonna help, if you're stepping out, can I have the honor of trying to help them? Can I be their preferred realtor? How can we partner up? Can we do a 25% referral over the next year? And then 20% for a lifetime to any, you know, however you're gonna set that up, but look for the people who are getting out. And that's not just somebody like me who was in 2005 and retiring out. That's the new agent that just got in and doesn't have the budget to stay, right? So look around you, there are gonna be plenty. And so that day that the interest rate went up by 1%, I called my association and I got numbers. Over 40% of the realtors in my association, because the market had been good previously, were 4 years or younger in real estate. Now, 20%, who knows the 80-20 rule? You guys know that? Okay, 20% of the realtors do 80% of the business, right? And when 2007 and 8 happened, I thought all the part-timers would leave. They don't need to leave. They only have to do it part-time. It's not their career. It's not their business. They're on the golf course, a deal or two every. Part-timers stay. The agent who's been in business forever, they have the practices, the systems, the discipline, the scripts. They know how to stick through any market. It's the middle guy who's just starting to thrive in their business that's struggling. Also where you get talent and partnerships. Become the Ben Kinney that made me have a world big enough that I can stay in his realm, right? Who's talent in your office that maybe you can contribute to and go into partnership with, right? But that, I mean, think about it. If 650, 500, 650, like if you had their whole database and you could add them in and invite them to the client party and get your vendors to pay, so don't let that go ching, 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 ching. Bring their vendors in too. But all of a sudden you have an opportunity to do how much more business? Does that sound like a good strategy? Yeah, so take a look at that. And once again, it's a golden handoff. I can't think of his name, but it's got some great ideas in there. Newsletters, local relevant. When COVID was happening and everybody went Amazon crazy, we actually went out with video, Kelsey and I highlighted local businesses and said, please shop local. Went out in our masks, we went out and we videotaped it and then we posted it on social media. What happens with that is a business owner then posts you and your stuff on social media. So now you're in front of their whole sphere. And anybody who's watching them is a fan of that local business. And now once again, you're their friend. You're one step into that 360-degree separation, right? Oh, so-and-so likes her. She's highlighting him. I like him. I need a realtor. That's the person I'm going to call. So it doesn't have to be a pandemic. Going out and highlighting a business, this is another tactic, if it's one that's attractive to you, that you can do really well at. We brought in a gal to take photos and put together reels for our last client party, and she just did an amazing job, and we posted that and got a big talk of it. Highlight somebody else's story. I took a class, once again, I'm very learning based. I was in for a coaching company in Austin, and they brought in Darius, I think was his name. Can't think of the name of the book. But he talked about storytelling. And so once again, it's this relationship. We connect with people when there's a similarity, but even more so when we're heard, right? So I mentioned web pages. #1 agent in Whatcom County, #1 agent in Naples, Florida. Who states you're #1? But how many agents say they're #1, right? That doesn't sell. People see through all of that. But people relate to stories. It's why you're going through TikTok, and every story that has something that you relate to, this is how we're getting our AI feeds. You're relating to it. So I'm going to tell you what I learned in this class from Darius. He said, instead of telling somebody what you do in real estate, tell them your story. For me, it's hard to tell my story. It's kind of like telling you about my experience, where one of my coaches said, tell it as if it's somebody else and then one of them it's you, right? But he taught me in this class about telling a story in a way that your client might relate to it. So can I give you guys my quick, instead of an elevator speech, it's kind of a little story. So if I'm sitting down at a buyer console, or I'm sitting in a listing presentation, I'll say to them, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, can I tell you a little story as to why I got into real estate? I realized it just in this last year. They're going to say, of course. So, you know, I grew up with a hippie mom. I lived in a TP, a VW van, a commune or two. I've been homeless and on the streets. I lived in a houseboat on a barge. Like my first full year in one school was my 11th grade in high school. And I remember looking out and just really wishing that one, I could stay somewhere because I kept losing friendships and stuff as we moved. But I would look across and the kids would be riding their bikes under the streetlight, white picket fence, Wonder Bread, Brewers East, and cod liver oil. But I wanted what they had. And it was all based around the home and family and stability. What I realized about a year ago when I was taking class, that the reason that I love real estate so much is that I know that it allows somebody a way to build a history and a story and security and wealth. And there's so much in home ownership that I believe in. And I realized that it actually came in just wanting that from the state of a child. I'm passionate about helping. And that's why I'm here today. And I'd like to know what your story is of selling. I'd like to know is this a chapter to get to grandkids? Is this a chapter about making an investment for your kids later down the road that you can pass on an inheritance? Like, what is your story? Do you guys think that's a little more relatable?
Yeah.
Right?
So powerful.
Right? And all of a sudden now I told them me, but now I'm saying, tell me you. I want to hear you. Who are you and how can I help and how can I make your dreams come true? Is this investment? Is this health issues? Is this because you have so much debt and you lost it? Like, what can I do? How can I be here for you? That's when we want to work with one another. And I may find out I don't want to work with them based on why, right? I had somebody in our REO days that wanted to get out and have the bank take it for their gain. I'm like, I'm sorry. I have too many people that are working in a world where this world is life or death for them. And you're trying to take advantage of it. And it just doesn't fit my moral value. So I make this side. Your story doesn't matter. Okay. So tell a story, whether somebody else's or your own at the table. Okay. Any questions?
You had a couple slides that like create classes. Is that something you're gonna go over? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I got a whole list of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you guys tell I love what I do?
Yeah.
Live a life by design, love what you do it well, and expand on it. Okay, foundation, just foundation. Okay, so get involved and contribute to your community. Once again, the universe is big. For me, if I'm going out and I'm contributing, I feel good, I get an opportunity to help others, and we do good together within the community. So right now, I just reapplied this monthly business mixer. This can almost make me cry right now because my phone is also blowing up with some results from this. So when I stepped out and was doing leadership on my team and Kelsey came in, this was something that I kind of let go of in the year that I brought her into mentorship for that team. And COVID had happened. So we just stepped away from that. But when I hit that December mark and started, I took January 1st, I was off, but January 2nd, I sat in that seat and I started doing what I needed to do to get it done. I figured this is the best way to build out a coaching resume you've ever seen in your life, right? And there was nothing on my board at that point, right? So we just went to town. But this, I implemented this because it had had a huge impact before and it has a huge impact now. And once again, I lead with revenue. But I invited all of my vendors to be a part of a business mixer in 2007 and 8 to add back. So I went looking for places to network, places like BNI. Who's heard of BNI? Is anybody a BNI member? Okay, well, they're kind of costly. It's a great idea, but there's also some serious expectations that you provide a certain amount of business within the group and that you show up within the group. I don't like anybody telling me what to do. There's a few of you in the room too, because when I say lead gen, and you're not raising your hand, there's a couple of you in here too. And I get it, but I want the flexibility of leading with revenue and not having an expectation and being monitored to it. But I believe in doing business to business. And so I built this business mixture around that BNI model. So we have 2 people per industry, 2 or 3. And I'll tell you, my massage therapists, they're lovers. They just kept bringing in more massage. Well, she's Reiki and she's acupuncture. So let's let her in. So I'm like, as long as you guys are all good with it, bring them in. But we stay true. So this is me and Tracy, my other realtor, right? So it's us 2 in our industry. But I'll bring in 2 people per industry. And once again, these vendors know if I'm giving you business, my expectation is that you would support mine. And let's see how we can do that at a really high level. So I'm just going to tell you really quick, because this is my favorite right now. When I did it in 2007, I sent out a newsletter I sent out a letter to my database. I still love snail mail, right? And I sent out a letter and I said, hey, I want you guys to know that in this economy shift, I want to support local businesses, but I need to know who's your favorite business. And it can be across the board. So whether it's a babysitter or a car mechanic, it doesn't have to be real estate related. But who do you know that does an exceptional job at the service they provide? And the second part of this is they have to have a great bedside. Do they go above and beyond for their client? If you know somebody like that, let me know and I will give them a private invitation to this business mixer that's for fun and for free to support their business. I got a hay cutter. I don't even know what you call him, but he cuts fields of hay. I got the car mechanic who's phenomenal, tons of business. I got the lawnmower guy who just did my pressure washer. I got the estate gal. Actually, I met her at an open house. But I brought her in. Anyways, I went out and I got all the business owners and I brought them in. And we meet once a month. It's a 1-hour commitment for them, but they don't have to be there. For me, I'm like, come when you can, don't worry about it if you can't, right? Come if you can, don't worry about it if you can't. And what I do is, the format of it is 15 minutes is me bringing somebody in to highlight something. So at one point we had SEO back then. We got everybody at the top page and organically of SEO. So we brought somebody in to do that in about 15 minutes. It was crazy. It led to a class. We brought in the person who had the Mount Baker Theater that I said I do my VIP, and we talked about their event and their services. So any of the other vendors could rent that same space. Sometimes it's me teaching the tool. Right, like I can teach the GPS or 411. It may be me teaching a business practice. So I bring in, and 15 minutes is a value add. They're getting something from that 15 minutes. The second 15 minutes is one of the business vendors is highlighting their own business. They're telling us how we can get the business. The last one was Lauren. She's organized at last. She does staging, she does organizing, but now she's expanded into she'll pack you up organized. And if you're local, she'll actually unpack you in the new house and utilize your space to the highest ability with your stuff. I didn't even know that until the presentation, right? Like she presented her business. The second part is have the wants. What do you have? What do you want? We had one gal, she had a 16-year-old son, he needed a car. We got him a car. Somebody had a car to sell. Like we figured that out. By the next month, that kid had a car, right? Affordable within her price range. And then the last 15 minutes is networking. And people are doing, my contractor got 3 jobs last business mixer because contractors are in high order and he got 3 jobs, right? there's more about that. It actually goes 6 deep with one of the vendors who used to be a builder, who then was a vacuum clean, carpet cleaning he built out. Got me a resort to list on the lake that had 250 homes. And then he sold the carpet cleaning business to the kid who's now the business mixer. So the older owner of the business and the new owner of the business, they're both at the business mixer. And then that kiddo just sponsored part of our event. I call him kiddo. He's in his 30s. My kids are in their 30s. Okay, so yes,
Love this, awesome. So where do you typically have it? Do you pay for it? Do the vendors pay for it? Like, what does it kind of look like?
have it in your market center.
Just
For us, we're in a building and that building actually has a great conference room. And so I just rent that out. It costs me $10 a month.
you provide any food or drinks or?
I have the vendors provide. I did the first couple 3 times, and then every meeting I ask who's volunteering to bring the coffee and who's volunteering to bring the snacks at any time. You can't ask the room and nobody doesn't raise their hand. Somebody's gonna raise their hand. Because you don't leave till they
So
do.
you do it in the morning, you do coffee.
Yeah, I go 8 to 9, third Wednesday of every month. Seems to work. Yeah. Yeah, and then that whole pool, they want to bring people in, but that's also value add. So when you're out asking for sponsorship or you have a client that, I'm trying to think of somebody that I just got introduced to, but they'll bring in an event. I'm like, oh, I don't have one of those in my business mixer. And reach out to, this one gal had this carpentry, custom carpentry, came in and built this gentleman was an artist. And he built this custom, piece for her to light a painting under, right? Like this whole custom piece. Anyways, so he gets invited to the business. And that would be like it may be in ours, like we have a gal who's a photographer right now that she's taking. And she's gonna be the next presenter. And she's selling pieces on Facebook every day. And we're complimenting.
And you should put together a schedule of who gets to present.
Every month I ask for the next. Yeah.
I would imagine everybody wants to, so how do you choose?
Just schedule, you make sure. And then also vendor sponsorship, depending on if I promised that spot because they were in the category, one's gonna use everything for one source. So, yeah. Yeah, but they stick around. They wanna present for sure. And they're their own marketing. I mean, they're talking about the business they've gotten through this vendor. Business mixer, and I literally started it again in February, maybe. So the other one that made me almost cry, Franny, is our estate sale. I walked in to show a property and she was setting up for an estate sale in the garage. And she was so organized. I was watching her. And so I said, hey, do you have a business card? I'd love to chat with you at some point in case I need to refer you out. She said, yeah. So I met Franny the other day at a house where the client has called me. I've never met him. They said, send the listing paperwork. Franny's the best person ever. If she says it's you, send it. Just tell us the price. But she's in estate. She's just so gentle, and the father just passed away, et cetera. Lauren gets the organized part, right? And Ben's gonna do, he's a contractor. He's gonna do some of the cleanup for them. So these vendors get my business too, right? But Franny literally, I mean, I got to see her, gave her a big hug. And literally her client just called and said, Franny said, you're the best, send us paperwork. We'll sign it, put the price in, we trust you 110%. That's Franny. So, and she can't come to the business mixer anymore. She's too busy right now. This is not her season. So she's not in attendance. But we've been doing business back and forth from that one interaction for years. Okay. I'm going to tell you about another program. Have you guys heard for Homes for Heroes?
Yeah.
Okay. Once again, I don't like paying for things. You have to pay for these things. So I went to my lender on one of our once a month meetings. We're having lunch. I said, let's do something where we can get in front of these vendors. Let's do something where we can add a value to people. And I was telling you about Homes for Heroes. I know they have doctors, nurses programs. My daughter was an RN. I was like, how do we make this affordable? And I hate student debt. Finally was able to pay off my kids, but I have so many clients that have all this, like, how can we make an impact? What can we do? And I love small businesses. So what we came up with, my lender and I, and this one I'm doing specific because I have two preferred. But we came up with a program where I hired somebody to gather all the small businesses with 50 employees or less in 2 counties. And I went out with the one thing book, he and I did. And we ended up doing some pop-bys and dropping it off, leaving our cards, and then making a call or having the conversation with that. But we had this list, and so we were easily able to call after that. Did you get the book? Did you see it? If your HR person took it, we'll get you another one because you want to read it. And we told them to read it too. But what we do is we offer to the business owner a discount for all their employees through the realtor. And that can look different, but I give a 25% referral, and then he has a point system that he's giving back on the loan. And so when their employees use us, they get a discount in buying and selling of real estate. It costs the employer nothing. It puts us in front of their staff, either at a staff meeting or an email that goes out, and we get introduced to a huge piece. So this is adding to your database again. They get a discount at no cost to them. The employer gets talent to show up. So right now in that hiring process, right, looking for talent, all of a sudden they have something to offer that their competition doesn't, to keep the person to come to them, but then also keep them, because it's proven that if you're a homeowner, you're more likely to stay in a job than if you're a renter. So home ownership then keeps them committed to staying put versus moving around a little more frequently. And so they get longevity with their employees. So we go over all of that with them, but we get in front of all of those people for the cost of a referral fee. And we add to the database. Sound like a plan? The cost is time and maybe hiring somebody to get you the list. You guys have attorneys or title companies they sponsor, right? The title companies are phenomenal too, of being able to pull information, but also the print shops, when it came to the businesses, they could quickly pull a list because that's how they utilize their systems. I went to Northwest Copiers and they were able to give me a list of small business owners within those parameters. So check out your print shops too. What do you think? Good? Yeah. So good. Okay. And you can leverage a lot of this too. You can really leverage this at a high level. I just like getting face to face. For me, it's double. I coach small businesses and I say I like coaching too. So all of a sudden I'm in front of clients that may end up utilizing me on one of my other legs of business as well. So I'm targeting ways to spend my time that has the highest impact. 80-20. Okay. Client parties and a charity focus means that we do Blue Skies, which is an organization that helps families, especially with the kiddos in school. So we have like backpacks, school supplies, clothing, but they're a local charity that we like to partner with. So at our client parties, we'll actually present that charity as well. And then people can donate in a way or get involved or have an awareness of a local impactful charity that we've chosen. Kelsey actually picked that. Step into properties, I write off my shoes, a whole nother tax marketing thing. So we were doing a lot of shoe fundraisers before, which sounds crazy, but we had like the red carpet. So when Joplin, the hurricane came through, we got a bunch of vendors to support. We had a shoe red carpet competition, different things. So once again, find your passion. Get creative, do what you love to do, hang out with the people you love to hang out, do big business. If you're trying to convert web leads, I should say that bench. I mean, if you convert them well and you have the right source and your payment in is giving you the payment back out, Gary says for every $1 spent, you should get 4 in return, right? So inventory your business, make sure that your time is dollars. I don't know how much you get paid per hour, but you're going to want to make sure that you're not diluting yourself because you have no hours left in your day, right? Highlight business, we talked about that, newsletter saying, okay, whew, are we good?
Yes.
Okay. Vendors, who should you be looking to partner with? Once again, do not exclude realtors. You guys have a huge resource within local realtors, national realtors, global realtors. Find out, look at realtors in a different light. Take a minute and see who you want to be in partner with and how you could do bigger business because you chose to do just that. Lenders the same. We talked about some of those ideas. Business owners and leaders. We have a gal in our local area who just got a federal grant for small businesses because of the program that she'd be doing. And one of my clients actually introduced me, Dave did, because he knows my passion for small businesses. But all of a sudden, I'm going to be presenting for her and contributing with her in a way that I'm in front of all these brand new businesses. Does that sound like I can align in so many ways, right? Attorneys, divorce, immigration, estate, you guys have title. The other thing I want to tell you is, so I'm a global realtor. This class doesn't go into that. If ever you're interested, that's how I got my phone to ring. They call, how can you sell my property? Nobody else can. So I built out that little niche, but I'm going to give you guys another source. It's kind of on the now to do. It isn't on here, but you can call your title company and you can get a list of all of the owners that you can be very specific, 3-bedroom. I'm trying to think of what's here, whether it's condo houses, whether what you want to do is you want to get all of your global owners. You want to look at global in your own backyard because a lot of them may not be here right now. Right? Or a lot of them may have had shifts because the economy is shifting and because we have some roguelike politics, that ownership, you might get a hold of them right at the time that they're hoping to sell. The other thing for me is I watch currencies. So I can actually have the title company pull a list that makes sense based on currency exchange rate right now. So it might be advantageous to call somebody who's a homeowner or send them a note that says, by the way, your currency exchange would allow you to not only gain in this market through the sale, because when you bought it was this price, here's your gain, but also your currency gain, right? And all of a sudden, you're talking a language no other realtor has ever discussed with them, okay? There's a whole nother class around that. So I won't go much more than that, but go to your title company. And even if it's not global, target who you're talking to, right? So if you're going to market a neighborhood, I don't necessarily want to market the whole neighborhood. I want to market a particular property type. Go to the title company and they can get you a list of everybody that owns property within that property type. That is who you're trying to target. Luxury is a great example of that. Or it could be mixed use if you're commercial, where you get residential in one and commercial in the other, right? Partner with that commercial realtor to find out mixed use. Okay, just a side note. Just some more business for you. You don't mind. Okay, financial planners are great. They know who's doing what. They're kind of like a gossiper in the financial world. And they usually don't have a realtor that's approaching them. So find some people that are doing some really big financial planning with the type of client that you want to work with and see how you can get into partnership with them. So attorneys, be aware, we have podcasts, we have different ways. There's so many ways to get out there, but everybody's looking to get somebody who's an expert in the field. So the attorneys have a newsletter that they put out every month in my neighborhood. They're always looking for content. And I got invited to start writing articles for the attorneys based on the global, because I was networking with a lot of the immigration attorneys. But it doesn't have to be that. It could be divorce, it could be estate, it could be whatever it is, bankruptcy. But get involved with the attorneys that you want to get involved with. And then see if you can write an article, and the other attorneys will actually, once again, oh, Joe knows her, she wrote this, let's do this. And then also articles, so we still have print. I'm not one to pay for print, But I can take the same article that I wrote for the attorneys, once again, like my time, and put that somewhere else. And so I got invited to write articles around global real estate for a local magazine, and was able to use it in other places and got a ton of leads just because it was the purple cow. It stood out for global. And right now you want to stand out in a way that people, when they don't feel like they're getting the results they want, will call you to then get them the results. Okay, any questions on that? Okay. Open houses, let's talk about those. I had 3 people in the room saying they were using that at a high level right now. Tell me how that's working.
Well, I've been doing open houses for a long time. I'm always learning more and more. Erica just did an open house last us, I think it was last week. So we got more little nuggets of goodness. I use the social media platform to make sure I'm putting out in advance when the open houses are. I'm getting into reels, which I'm like you, I'm not super great at, but I'm doing it. Seems to be working. And I'm, summertime is a little different down here. You don't really know how many people you're gonna get through. Seems to be doing pretty good as of late. So I have done the, raffle ticket or gift card or things of that nature. I haven't gone to the high level of what I'm seeing here, which is ice cream trucks and lenders and things of that nature, but moving into season, that's where I'd like to progress to.
Okay, I love it. I love it. And there, we have a lot of people on it. Some of the people that I am coaching that are using it at a really high level. I was talking to my coach, and we really went into the fact that we're looking not necessarily for buyers that were, right? It's always been this mindset that you're looking for a buyer, but you're really looking for the sellers in the neighborhood, but even more so, you're looking for your database. So it is a database space. So the more people you get in and how you build rapport and share information, that will strengthen rapport over time, not have them hang up on you later because you just grab their information and surprise them with a call.
Right. That's interesting because I was on the pivot shift ahead call this morning with James Shaw, and somebody just said that exact same thing. I had to shift my mindset to not be worried about the buyers I'm getting in, but the potential neighbors that might be selling. And I went, well, I don't thought of it that way. I've always been buyer who wants to buy another house. You have to think differently in this market.
So that's the piece where when we're preparing before with the buyers and the signs and the balloons and the social media and everybody comment, live feed on Facebook, all of that is good. The tactical piece, and this is where in your time management, right? And I want to hear some of your tidbits too. But how are you getting the seller in, right? Not how are you bringing the buyer in that they're going to see it, but how are you getting the seller in? And so some of the high level pieces in Texas, I have a team in Houston, Texas, that is doing an ice cream truck at all of their open. They have the weather that can support that too. A vendor, right? And we even added a raffle to that ice cream truck because they're getting that. So we're saying to the sellers, come out, see the house. If you bring a friend, every person that comes to the open house, we're going to put into a raffle, right? And if you bring a friend, you will get 2 raffle entries. We're bringing a friend and your friend will get a raffle. So bring as many people as you want. We're helping our seller get the home sold, and the more people we have come through helps your neighbor, which helps you get a higher price. Right. And that's your price, right? So you're actually taking the time to go through the neighborhood to get the sellers versus thinking of it as the buyers, which also makes you very intentional on where you're doing open houses. And we had a gentleman to leave who was a new agent. He said it was day one.
Yeah.
Day one, I love that. But he can do your open houses too, or partner with you as you're bringing in. So there's, even if you don't have a lot of listings to do that with, or maybe you're not targeting that neighborhood. One of the ways my shoes came about is, I would call agents with luxury listings when I was a new agent, and I'd say, hey, I've got this whole marketing plan around shoes, step into global properties. And I would actually like to film your home and see if I can procure a buyer for you. Would that be okay if I highlighted your home with my shoes and put it out? And they're like, yeah, sell the house, that's good. Well, I was walking through the house and I had my little intern at that point. I wasn't even paying for the assistant. Such a dynamic. He now works, he runs part of the Remax office. But he would film my shoes going through the house. All these luxury listings and my shoes going everywhere, writing on my shoes. And what happens? The neighbors start calling you. Oh my gosh, I saw you in Joe's house. You're not even, what, tell me what you do. All of a sudden I'm seeing your shoes going through their houses. But I ended up in a market, I was intentional of getting into a market that I wanted to serve, and they weren't even my listing, right? But you want to be able to bring as many people through, both buyers and sellers, and I think that's what was missed before. So what are some of the tidbits that are working really well for you with the open houses?
I mean, I've been doing open houses, about this year for the last 3 months and like 5 days a week. It hasn't been the best, but it's been kind of difficult, but I've been on the mob wide. And I just keep changing my strategy. What I feel like works well for me is like people to see my sign, and that's why they come in. So the sign, that's what attracted them. And it's not like my listing, but I just connect with other listing agents, and I do listings for them, open houses for them. That worked well for me. Most of people don't want to give their information. They feel that you're gonna sell the information. So it's just like 10% of those visiting the open houses, so we able to give you their information. So we can add that to lead. Maybe what I start doing, it seems like it's a nice move. I invite the lender to be on site with me. We can change things. I guess that one would work well, and we actually been doing it. But I feel like all of those advertisements don't really bring people in. People more like the emotional. It's like, I see the sign, let me just check it out. And you have those noisy neighbors.
I like nosy neighbors. I do.
Seller.
Yeah. Okay, let me hear yours. I'm gonna dive into some of this because this is good stuff.
Well, I was just gonna add that typically when I do an open house, I'll door knock the day before and invite all of the neighbors in. Ask them to bring a friend, let them know that, you know, the best way to bring in a new neighbor is to pick your neighbors to bring in a new neighbor.
Exactly.
So you get a lot of traffic.
Yeah. And just calling it out as people are coming in. So gathering their information, one of the things, because in Brevity, they can do it all electronically. I'm still old school, but for me, I like having a shoe basket, so they have to stop, making sure that it says they have to put it on either the booties or take their shoes off. It stops them. It gives, they're my hostage for a minute, no matter what property type. And the sign says, for the new home, it says something, and I can't think of it, but this is for the new homeowner, right? That you're taking your shoes off. But instead of having them sign in or fill something out, it's harder for somebody to say their Gmail address is Mickey Mouse when they're telling you the email. So I'll ask them while they're doing that, hey, the seller would like me to gather some information just so we know who's going through the home. I'm gonna get this. And on that same sheet I have, how did you hear about this open house? And I track areas of it. Sign, part of our social media. How did you get in here? The seller would like to know how my marketing showed up in this open house today. So you're gathering the information, and they may still say no. That's fine. For me, once again, the universe is big, right? But I'll let them go tour the house, and depending on how many people are coming through, because it's that entry point. Right? And if it's a house and I need more people in it, then I'm getting that. But I want to greet at the door. But then the carrots that we're talking about is this inventory list of off market, and I really didn't get into that, but I'll ask them. As they come through, is this the house for you? Did you fall so in love with it that you're ready to write a contract today, or are you moving on to the next home? And most of them are saying the next home. I say, okay, great. I actually scheduled myself at this open house until 3 o'clock, but I always keep an hour after the open house to show properties that are similar to this home, to see if any of the buyers that come through might want to see some of those others. We have showing time. Do you guys have the on? Okay. So it still is that hour. It's still the script. If they say yes, then I'm seeing if I can quickly show. And if not, I'm showing the effort that I'm trying to show and say, you know what, they've actually blocked that time frame. So I can't get you in today, but I could get you in tomorrow morning at 10. So you're giving them, it's not the home that they want, but you're actually offering to take them now. If you meet me at that home at 4:10, or you got done at 3:10, I would love to show you that home today, right? The other thing is, because you may have that list with you, either on your computer or on a list, but you're not handing it to them. I like the paper list because they're like, oh, can I say, you know what, I only have one copy, and if other people want to see it, then I got to hold on to this for a second. I didn't bring my computer, so I can just reference really quick similar features. But I'd be glad to get you a list, or I'd be glad to email this over to you. Did you put your email on? Did we grab your email? Let me remember, I think, right? So now you're getting their information, but the other thing, step further is, well, you know what, I'm on a team, and my agents, as well as our Ben Kinney team, we have about 15 agents in the office. The thing right now is that we know a lot of inventory that isn't on the market that you can't see online. There's no sign in the yard yet. And the reason for that is because the seller is getting the property ready. So we have a lot of inventory that you can't see. And what I'd like to do is sit down with you and have kind of a buyer consult, and let's see if any of my inventory that isn't on market might be a good fit for you, and go over how we work, and if that might be something that you'd like to do. Everybody wants inventory because there's not enough inventory. You guys wasn't that one of your things? Yeah. So I know all kinds of upcoming listings. I can't pre-sell them, but I can tell in a general way, and I'm not going to tell you at the open house because it's an open house and I'm representing my seller and I'm busy right now, but I will meet you after this open house, or I will meet you in the office tomorrow, and let's go over some property types that might work for you, and let me get a better understanding. And then I want to tap into the lender. So when the market, lenders have tools that we don't even know about. I love having that lunch with lenders because they fill me in on these things. But they have a tool, the lenders that I use, where they can actually, when we were going over market price by say 100,000, right? Did you guys have people offering over list price? They had tools that were project when I went into negotiation that, okay, if you guys are going to pay $50,000 or $100,000 over, I know you're a little hesitant, but in order to get this house, that's the only way this is happening. But let me show you the market stats through my lender deed. It says that in this trajectory that we've had over the last 3-6 months, that $100,000, that mark will be met at month 3, 4, 5, because they're doing these forecasts and they have all these charts. So they come to the house, open house, and they've got forecasts with above offer. Then when the interest rate goes up, this is a whole nother conversation, right? So then the lender comes and says, and with my listing presentations, I let them know I'm partnering with the lender, and that we want to start at this price, but we want them to be able to buy the interest rate down for the buyers, and we're going to advertise it as such. Here's the price, but the seller is willing to offer 2% in closing costs to buy down your rate, or however you choose to use it. So we know you can do that. Most consumers do not, right? But we can advertise it that way. And the lender's there at the open house saying, here's the list price. But if you ask the seller to pay 1% in contribution to your closing costs, here's your monthly payment. Here's 2%, here's 3%, because depending on their loan type will be their maximum that they can ask for. And then you've got all, and they're printing it, they're getting it ready, they're doing all the paperwork that is there on the counter, and they have the potential to get it with a client as well. But you're using those lenders and you're having that conversation right there. And I'll tell you, and realtors come in If you've got 40%, like I did, of realtors who've only been in business 4 years, they've never had these conversations or known how to get creative. So what happens is that agent comes in with their client, they're like, wow, I didn't know we could do that. That's your talent you're looking for in that rainmaker position. Oh, I like this realtor. They're open, they're ready. Like I'm almost interviewing them for a job to bring them into my world, right? Who is this realtor? And I want to know who I'm ready to contract with because I'm representing the seller. So now I know what the realtor knows or doesn't know. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so market to a seller. Think about marketing your open houses to the sellers that are potentially there for you. Do some creative things because, and respite, you have to double check what you can wrap, what you can't, but literally some of my teams are doing raffles up there and bring a bigger base in for raffle tickets. So depending on what you're gonna raffle. I have a massage therapist in my business mixer that I bring in sometimes to massage. Just saying, keeps them around a little while longer. And you can talk to them, they're face down in that chair. I'd have to look sideways, just saying. And neighborhood stats, but you can be the expert. Okay, this is what we were talking about in creating off-market inventory. So it may be the upcoming listings that I know I have, the team has. But we also have a would sell list that goes out even further, right? So it's not inventory that's there in a year, but we let people know that we have sellers that we know that are going to sell an investment property in 1 year because their kids are going to be graduating from college or from high school and they need college. Full reason, right? So you have all these other reasons that you can tell them it's not just in the next 30 days, these houses are coming on market. But if you guys get out there and you realize now's not the time, then if you're 6 months, a year from now, we constantly have inventory that you're not going to see online. And 97% of the buyers find their home online. Did you see this one online or did you drive by, right? And the fact that we go out and we door knock. So when we were in a market where there was multiple offers, so I'm talking to this buyer who's in my open house. When we were in a market where there were multiple buyers, we actually would knock on doors around the property that maybe they got beat out on to see if anybody else was interested. So we go above and beyond for our buyers. If we sit down in this appointment and do a buyer consult and I learn more about what you want, I'm willing to go to any length to try to find you that property. I'm not a realtor that just sits at my computer. I'm an active realtor who works full time. I work for my clients. So if you'd like to sit down and I can show you some of the tactical moves that we'll make to find you a property, let's meet at the office tomorrow. It's 10 more better than 4. Okay. Local prospect, we talked about that. If you guys get into some of those dialers, you can literally put in an address dial around too, in case you're not doing the door knocking, but I like that idea because if you door knocked and left an open house flyer, then and you follow up on the call, not a bad deal. REOs, okay. So Stephanie is in our office and she was really big within our REO department. Zillow markets upcoming foreclosures, you gotta love what Zillow does. But I use what people do to my advantage best I can. So I'll actually ask, have you ever looked at any of the sites where you can either auction a property, get an REO? Zillow has, you know, and then I let them know that, you know what, I work with banks, I work with lenders, I'm constantly asking for properties that might be distressed. And as a matter of fact, I drive by properties that look distressed and sometimes I track them down to see. But we're gonna also know that properties that are up and coming through the banks. So if you see it online, you probably don't have access until the seller has an opportunity to make great. What I want to do is have a conversation with the seller and see if I can get in there before they do, right, to create a win-win. The other thing, the off-market inventory, I put in refis and HELOCs. You guys, that was one of my phone calls too. I called when the interest rate was going up, but also when it was really low to my 650, which should be 500 right now, and said, hey, you guys. And I went back 3 years. You guys have been in the house. You've built equity in the house. Right now would be a great time to get an equity line of credit so that you have an emergency fund. And I'm very tactical with this. I don't want everybody having a conversation. So it was with the people that I knew that would manage their money correctly. Wasn't necessarily my new young couple that might be in need of a monster truck or a new hot tub, right? Like I wanted to make sure that it was somebody who would, I don't like helping anybody accrue debt. Yeah. So my fiduciary duty is to help them as well. But I made that call. Here's one that I made. Melanie, Corey, that's the last time I talked to her, her husband, we'd help them buy, became a contractor. Now he's part of my business mixer. You guys getting this kind of like connect all the dots to one energy? So now Corey's part of our business mixer, but he wasn't a contractor when we sold him the house before COVID. He's now a contractor. When I called her and I said, hey, Melanie, you guys have been in the home, and it was 3 years, maybe almost 4. You have equity. Have you seen how we've raised in price? She's like, oh my gosh, this is insane. I'm so glad we bought what we bought. I said, I know, but here's the thing, you have kiddos. I want to talk to you about the fact that you might be able to get an equity line of credit, whether that's to maybe put a down payment on an investment property for a college fund, whether that's to start off a new business, whether that's, you know, to save for an emergency. I just got one on my house because I wanted the highest value to get the most available. And I'm looking for an investment property. And she said, you know what, Mallina, not only have we built equity, but I've been paying double payments on our house since we bought it. And she said, and before I met Corey, I used to look at auction sites all the time. I've always wanted. Needless to say, she went and got an equity line of credit and we're shopping for her second property, right? So have those conversations with your clients, but that also will open up for inventory. You'll find out who wants to sell what, like Mark and Rhonda, they were selling the house that they have for their kids' college fund. They actually moved it into the Airbnb paid for them because it was a long-term executive. And this is a higher rate of return in the Airbnb, although that's a storm, right? Okay, any questions about stock market inventory? But if you're having that conversation in an open house, do you think that you might be able to capture more information and the buyer? Okay, awesome. Create class. Yay. Okay. I don't want, oh yes,
Are we getting these slides?
I think so. I think Erica said she's putting it all on the YouTube.
Okay,
But
but y'all keep taking pictures, but I'm like, I think we're actually getting them.
yeah, I think so. I do the same though, because I know myself well enough that I might not listen to or go back to it. So sometimes, you know, where I do a refresher is on the airplane, constantly looking at rule. I'm like, oh. Okay, create classes. Is anybody teaching classes right now? What are you teaching?
Well, like the first time home buyers.
How many people are you bringing in?
And it's like,
Beautiful. And are you converting them? Are they?
it's working.
Good, good. I love it. I love it. And what time do you have to put in? What, probably monthly? How much time per month to teach those classes?
What I've been doing since I'm in April and Lehigh. So I've do 2 hours class in Lehigh and 2 hours class in Naples monthly. So
4 hours plus your commute time, prep time. And do you think that let's say 5 hours, even 6 hours, you're getting a great rate of return?
well, yes, honestly, for last year, most of my transactions, people just came to my first home buyer training.
There you go.
So those people sometimes didn't respond really quickly. And then one thing I do after the training, I offer a buyer consultation. Just into my office and my partner with me and we talk. So it's an extra 2 hours I invest in each person. We got 2 hours. If I got cost you anything, they should go to my office and sit down and then see where you are and I can just give you an advisor. It's an advisor. Take it from there, and then most of them, those are not ready, they just know what to do. And after talking, I said, after, from what I understand, from what I heard from them now, after this consultation, I can tell you for sure that you will be able to buy either in a year or 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And I'm just going to connect them with the mortgage.
I love it. I love it. And we do, I mean, it's great. You meet somebody, they write a contract that day, fabulous. But most of the time we meet somebody, it's 3 months, 6 months, a year. But I don't know, for me, I've been in business and I get the call from 8 years ago, right? Like I'm calling them or they're calling me, but that relationship is nurtured over time, right? So even if they're going into your sphere in your database and you can stay in touch with them, that is a win, 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 win. I'm going to tell you, I did a class for sale by owners. Do you guys have any signs in your yards yet? They're starting to come back a little bit. Okay, for sale by owners. And at that time, I think I put it on Craigslist. I can't remember where I advertised it. Put it on Craigslist. I got sick. I had attendees. I got sick. I couldn't do the class. So I called through. I ended up selling one of those for sale by owners. Called, nobody ever came to class. Did the second class. And I had some type of, I don't remember what the second, it was insane, but I had a second time that I wasn't going to be able to do it. The second time, I got a listing and I got an agent. The for sale by owner joined the Ben Kinney team. He became a real estate agent. And he was on our team for years before he moved out of state because his wife got a job. And I never taught the class. I never taught the class. So I don't suggest that as a tactic, but putting forth the energy will bring back the results, right? What I do like is first-time home seller classes. A lot of people will go to sell their home and they have no idea what they need to do or not do. I'm really fond of the honey not to do list versus the honey to do list. And people are investing a lot of money right now on things they don't have to because it's still moving so quickly. So that's a great way to advertise that is, I want to give you the honey not to do list if you're getting ready to sell your home. Okay. Another one is tax advantages. People worked from home, right? If you're, and this is where I bring in my partners, my CPA, I am not a tax advisor by any means, but I'll bring people into the class to co-teach with me, right? They get a possible client, etc. And I don't talk as much, but it's a value add and it helps people get ready and decide whether they want to or they don't want to. And they always bring more people and you can advertise it where all of a sudden you're adding to your database. You're adding vendors because they all have careers. You never know, right? You're utilizing it. And then right now, so one of my lenders, Dean, we just helped him buy, he and his wife, Suzanne, who's a stager now. We helped her get into her staging business. She's like a Pinterest queen. I don't know, but she does I can't think of the word. She does all the little bags for the Pinterest style setup for a client party. So everybody comes, a gift bag, grab bag, swag, thank you. She does swag like on steroids. And anyway, she's got that eye and she became a stager right now. We're utilizing her. She just did one of our first listings. But they just bought their third or fourth Airbnb, VRBO. Here's another one. You're all in the room, but you also have a universe that's abundant. I just became an agent for Evolve. You guys heard of Evolve? Evolve is a property management, Airbnb, VRBO type of deal. I was investing in Arizona. It had gone down. Another realtor out of Denver had an Airbnb. I tested for him. I offered to test it out for him as his first renter and tell him all the kinks. He and his wife put me in there and we found some kinks so they could start with 5-star reviews. I got a great discount, took my dog. It was fabulous when I wrote offers for investment properties down there. But they were using Evolve and I'd never heard of Evolve. And Evolve is expanding right now. And they do property management. And if you become one of their agents, they'll also let you advertise investment opportunities on their site because they have a for sale site. I haven't done that yet. I just literally signed the paperwork the other day. But I used them when I was as an investor assessing. They have a great assessment tool for rate of return on different properties out of state. Because I don't know the numbers in Naples on your rate of return on Airbnb. But there are a ton of people that are still thinking about buying, but think about all the people who just bought secondary homes as Airbnbs and VRBOs. Do you guys have that here, or is that, okay? Some cities like Palm Springs, or, yeah, you can only do month-long rentals versus weekly or short-term.
Most of the HOAs and condos are that,
Are they?
it's not like 52 times a year, or 2 times, 50 times. So those are very limited properties, mostly beachfronts that allow that kind of rentals. Or non-HOA communities like Naples Park or Golden Gate Estate or so like that. But it's becoming more and more restricted because this has a burden on the permanent residents, on people that are not interested, who have revolving doors around them. And this is the concept that all these skate communities are being built on. They didn't want this kind of traffic and this kind of crowd to derange them.
Exactly. Those changes are your golden nugget. And I'll tell you, places like Sedona had over a third of their ownership was Airbnb, and the city shut it down. Bellingham went to month only. Palm Springs said month only. But places like Phoenix are short term. But what's happened is people have bought them and the rules and regs have changed. Or they got into them and they didn't realize the amount of maintenance or the cost or the heartache. It was the trend. So once again, finding out, I mean, go on to the sites, you can find out who the homeowners are, go to title and touch base. Hey, if you ever think of selling, because many of those owners are out of state too. All of a sudden you have a whole nother pool on approaching somebody, right? But create a class for those locally who are still thinking about investing in one. And then once again, how you connect them with a realtor and where they're investing for one, or how they pick and choose an area that would give them the highest rate of return. Be the expert for going outbound and be the expert for maybe getting out of one. Or the association has changed the regulations.
You know, once you buy your grandfather in, but about the new owners, they will be subject to the new bylaws.
Not everybody's been grandfathered though. You guys may have that, but for us, some of them got cut off. Their income source, what they invested in, all of a sudden. So, and it's happening, it's the new trend. So you're on top of that as.
So Europe has been doing this for the last 10 years, because Spain and Portugal got hammered. People couldn't keep on paying for the rents anymore because the rents got adjusted to these vacation property like. And you know, when the state and the municipalities, they had to intervene and go very hard on all these rentals because they need to protect the communities and the local hard working class that was still the majority of the population, the area like Mallorca, or the Costa del Sol and everywhere, you know, where they have this type of property. Europe has much more proactive social protection system.
Yeah.
But it's coming because by the end of the day, the communities are paying a very high price versus, you know, allowing these prosperous, you know, companies to grow. You know, affect actually our standards of living by increasing our cost.
And it is the municipalities. The other thing too is if you guys are aware of associations, everybody moved during COVID. So an association kind of group conscience was one thing, but any new votes and new changes, like it was, if California moved in, if so-and-so moved in, like all of a sudden your associations are now built with different mindsets. There's conflict in them. So being aware of what those changes are, sometimes tap you into a resource where you can help people sell before the association is tagging on, upping their fees, etc. So it's another resource. Thank you for that. Okay, ahas. What's something you guys walked away with today that is beyond what you thought you were coming for? Go ahead.
When you were discussing newsletters or neighborhood spotlights or local businesses, like that. I turned it into, because I send out letters to my neighborhood anyway, and I decided to turn that into, do you have a favorite local business or are you a business owner? In my neighborhood, yeah, because I know of some of them, but we just had 4 new homeowners come in. So this is a good chance for me to just send that letter out with my monthly letter and say, what's your favorite local business in the area? Are we trying to put a whole spotlight together on social media, and or are you a business owner? We do.
That's awesome. The other place you can expand on that in our gift boxes, and once again, I have it within the 20, anyway. In our box, we actually put a vendor list as part of our sponsorship as well. And so many of those homeowners are business owners as well. And so they'll look at that kind of highlighted businesses and they'll ask about it, and then so sometimes your clients are coming into that business mixer world as well, just through the gift and the sponsorship through vendors. Yeah. What other ahas? Go ahead.
We love the monthly business mixer idea that you run a little bit like a BNI. I'm familiar with BNI, so I've heard about people doing things like this, but this is so regimented and planned. And you also said at the beginning, you know, figure out what your passions are and do what you love, because then you're going to do it. And we love connecting people. Like that's one of our passions.
Yeah.
So we got so excited about this. We're like, we're going to do this. We can't wait to do this. And I can see how it has so much potential for so much business.
And the thing about a business owner or a leader is they understand business. They'll pre-vet your referrals and they're passionate about getting you business because you've been getting them business. They're one of my biggest referral sources are those business referral sources. Yeah, for sure. That's what I say, because all of those make me cry. But even Franny, I mean, I'm hugging her the other day in this house and her client's like, I haven't met you, don't know you, send the paperwork, but the price. Hallelujah. So, okay, any other ahas? Yes.
Yeah, like the flag event.
Mhm.
And are you talking about like the post follow-ups like the event? So that's something I was gonna do that.
Good. Okay, so with that and the ahas, you guys, I have one more question for you. Because I'm hearing the I'm a coach. I'm gonna take you to the next level. So what are you gonna do in the next 30 days to make the business mixer happen or the plan after, right? Who, or the newsletter, are you committing to changing that out in the next 30 days?
Yeah.
Are you guys willing to take an hour in your time block and strategize on how you're gonna put that together?
100%.
Okay, so what I'm gonna suggest that you do is before you leave, put something into your calendar that holds you accountable to what you just stated you wanted to try to implement. That can then lead into the 3 strategies that you're gonna do within the next quarter or how you're gonna align that. And then once again, it's inventory your results. So if you're in social media for far too long or too wide, sometimes we just go too wide. We just need to start with the basic, see how that's going and then build off of it. And look for the heroes that are already doing things at high levels. I love watching other successful people and then trying it on to be successful myself. And then leverage. Don't forget, you guys, I'm talking about a lot of things that everybody's going, oh, I can do that, I can do that. I love leverage. Leverage that out. An intern, the coffee store, the title company. I had an intern from the college writing articles for my webpage at one point that was getting me neighborhood recognition. So leverage the heck out of whatever you can and keep your time. Because what you do best is what you should be doing, not everything else around that. Okay. Even in open houses and strategies and running around with the open house flyer, if you're going to go leave that behind, have somebody else do that if you need to. If you have a new agent on your team, right? Like, how are you going to leverage that? And then you're following up with a call. Hey, so-and-so stopped by. He's one of my favorite showing specialists on our team. by the way, we wanted to make sure to make it face to face, right? If it's not in your calendar, you're not gonna do it. And if you don't look at your calendar, that's a whole nother class, because that was me. I had a beautiful color coded. I actually went to KW to teach with Antoinette for Train the Trainer. And I did this presentation. But my calendar looked so sexy. It was color coded. It was, you could tell the percentage was, I mean, it just dorky. But you know what? I never looked at the damn calendar. It looked beautiful, but it was so busy that I couldn't possibly, there was no movement and I got so I disengaged from it. And I went back in there, I cleared it all out and I went here, here, here. And nothing rocks me. It was a heck yes, for that calendar rock and heck no to everything else because I knew those times were gonna get me the result. But too much stuff in there doesn't. Okay, so we're right at 12 o'clock. I'm gonna let you guys out, but 3 types of people are gonna take class. 3 types of people that I coach. Some people don't want accountability. Who in the room wants accountability? Does want accountability.
I don't want it, but I have a coach, so.
So you have, okay, some accountability. So somebody could take a class like this, hear this, go, boom, done. I don't need anybody. Look, that, I don't know what percentage of the population, that's not me. I need accountability. Some accountability preferred might be somebody in this room that as you guys walk out, say, I'm gonna let you know by Friday that I have implemented this, or that I'm gonna let you know by Saturday that I have my calendar showing what I took from this class that I'm gonna do differently. Have an accountability partner, and it can just be the first step, right? Just a little bit, or ongoing. Which if you have a coach is a great way to do that. So find the partner to make sure that you have an optimum chance of crushing your goals. Somebody said it, you write the goal, you achieve it. It was actually our gentleman who was the runner. So once he hit the goal in the training for running, he quit running and now he's picking it back up. I'm the same. I have a half marathon in August. If I don't have something down the road, I'm not going to do it. So set the goals and have somebody help you get there, but you have to have markers to get there. So that's a whole nother coaching class, but make sure that you guys align away to your success and inventory along the way with those markers to make sure you're on the right track. Gary Keller says that it's not the goals that you set that are as important as the person you become on your way to getting to the goals. I've shifted my direction a few times because I realized that's not really where I want to go. But I became the person I wanted to be trying to reach that goal before I shifted, right? So set the goals. And then the 411, we talked about it. Get with somebody to meet weekly. Look at your own stuff weekly. Dive in, have a time block where you do that, and or set up a discovery call with the coach if you so be. So this is my information if you guys want it. If you didn't sign up here and if you didn't leave your email and if there's a Mickey Mouse on here, I know. I will send you guys all an email, but I am not leaving. I'm gonna just so you have my contact information. But if you want that VIP list that the Excel spreadsheet, then let me know so that I can get that to you. But I do have your emails on here. So if you don't want me to email you all my info, let me take you off. But basically that's it, that you can get the VIP if you want it. Any other questions, ahas? We stayed we're 5 minutes over our time, but anything you guys need? Thank you.